Are indicated down towards the Davenport area. That's moving out of the TV9 viewing area for us. Another warning for us here moving through the Clinton County area, and that one is a confirmed tornado on the ground. So again, that one there in the middle of your screen, including Wheatland area, that one again confirmed on the ground. Yet another warning for us here in the Jackson, Cedar, Clinton, and Jones County area. That one also radar indicated for us at this time. And then another warning for us further to the north. That one is for parts of Dubuque, Jones, Delaware counties. Also, again, radar indicated rotation. And then one last warning for us here, at least one more tornado warning. Again, that's going to be the Manchester area, now moving well out of there. And that's for Delaware County. That one for a damaging tornado as well.
All right, we're going to take a look at Brian Tabbick's live shot right now and just kind of take a look at what he's seeing. You guys can help me with this too. I see numerous poles down for sure.
Did we know exactly where Brian's at in Coralville?
9th Street was what I had what I was told, on 9th Street. Okay. Are you familiar? You're much more...
Okay, so Boston Way, just east of the Coral Ridge Mall.
Yeah, near the Coral Ridge Mall.
We did have reports right near the mall, or we had reports of damage at the mall as well.
Several first responders out there, which I think is a good thing to mention. That people naturally want to go see what happened. If you're not in this area already, don't go. Don't cause more traffic there than needs to be. Let the first responders do what they need to do.
Well, and with power down and with power lines, those are hot. You could get in trouble very, very quickly just being near that as well. So yeah, it's not time to go out. We have crews out there. You're going to see all the damage across eastern Iowa as we move through the coming days. But again, this is in the Coralville area.
So Joe, I think you have a video that you also received from the Hills area. Do you remember seeing this one of damage?
Let's take a look.
Yeah, it's on graphics 12 if you don't mind. Yeah, so this is the Hills area. That's the Casey's out by Highway 218. They're driving north on Old 218. So they're going to move past some houses here.
Yeah, we heard that Hills was pretty hard hit as well with damage.
Yeah, you're going to pick up on it here in a couple of seconds. You start to see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Relatively new apartments on the
see a trailer flipped there, it looks like.
Look at the roof damage.
The roof damage.
Yep, somebody lost the side. This is why we say
stay away from. Look at that.
Yeah, stay away from exterior walls. That's why we say it.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very prevalent there. More
house damage there.
That one looks like it lost its roof entirely.
Yeah. Again, you guys said it earlier, this is not the last of the damage that we're going to see from these storms because they were intense, they were on the ground, and they were causing damage as they moved across eastern Iowa since about 2 o'clock this afternoon, when they developed farther down to the south, then moved up through Wapello County and just continued to move through the area. And again, this is from the Hills area. Significant damage in the Hills area. We also have a report in Solon of some significant damage as well to a housing development in the Solon area as well. You may want to pop something else up, maybe.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was using
there we go.
my computer at the same time. Excuse me.
The tornado warning that was in effect, Manchester, you look like you're pretty clear of that warning. Those of you in Earlville yet still seeing that.
Looks like we've got several warnings still kind of moving out of the area.
Yeah, most of them go until about 6:15, but we still have a little ways to clear until it exits the viewing area. We were talking about that 6 to 7 o'clock time period. That looks like it's going to be right about in line.
Yeah, no, I think it is. It's moving out right as scheduled, which is good news. That last cell is moving through Dubuque County as well.
Yeah, our Dubuque viewers, you've been maybe watching here through the afternoon. Not much happening for you just yet, but now things are starting to lift into your area. So again, continue to stay weather aware.
And check the power outage map, because I'm sure that's been updated as well with new outages as they more and more come in. We have Cedar County now with about 2,600 people without power. We heard about 20,000 out in portions of Johnson County. Washington County about 2,000, 1,500 without power in Keokuk. About 350 in Iowa County, about 550 in Powashik County. Benton about 300. Lynn County now reporting about 2,300 out of power. That would be from mainly the Lynn County RECs, Delaware County now 1,600 power outages. Buchanan County also reporting a scattered handful of power outages. So as expected, that was going to occur, and even the video we were seeing from Brian earlier with the power lines down, I'm sure that's true in many locations when those storms move through. Those power poles don't stand up to that.
One thing just as a note going forward, if we could take Max 2 real quick, the tornado watch has started to be canceled for parts of the area. It was in effect till 8 o'clock for the entire TV9 viewing area. It is now trimmed back a bit. So areas west of, let's say, a line from near Charles City down toward Washington have started to be cut away, and that will continue to be trimmed over the next hour or two, as that back line of storms is the last one that gives us the threat for severe weather. There's a new severe thunderstorm warning. It includes a large portion of Cedar, Clinton, Jackson, Jones, Lynn, Buchanan, Delaware, and Dubuque. It includes large areas. It's kind of hard to pick it out across all of these other warnings in effect at the same time. But that is in effect until, let me get the latest again, just juggling the different ones. It's for a 6:45. And this one also is being warned for the potential for 80-mile-per-hour winds. So that is the type of straight line wind that can do pretty significant damage. As it moves to the northeast, again, your phone will likely go off with an emergency alert as it does, and just be ready to seek shelter. Stay away from those exterior walls if you're even in just a severe thunderstorm warning, because strong winds can do that kind of damage too.
Exactly. We all know, just the power of quote-unquote just wind. So do still heed those severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, a lot of focus, rightfully so, on the potential for tornadoes here through the afternoon, but do still pay attention that that wind threat is still moving in back behind as well. Again, several tornado warnings still in effect for us here across eastern Iowa. You can see them kind of highlighted there up towards Manchester, moving into Dubuque County as well. There to the south, moving through Jackson County as well as Clinton, Scott counties. Davenport viewers, those in the DeWitt area, it sounds like we've got confirmation of a tornado on the ground near DeWitt as well. Sorry
to interrupt you. If we could put Max 1 in a box with these, with Max 2, that would be helpful, so we can keep an eye on the Dubuque City Cam as the storms roll in, and as well as the radar.
We mentioned the wind, and now I'm thinking of cleanup. Tomorrow, we're not going to have storms. We've got winds that are probably going to be 40+ miles an hour out of the north and west, so that's going to make cleanup in some of these areas very, very difficult. Again, non-thunderstorm winds, cold front moves through, much colder air moving. In fact, we'll drop about, 40 degrees from what we saw from the high today to our low tomorrow morning, and that just shows you how powerful this system was that moved through. And with it, again, that's going to be something you'll deal with tomorrow. All of us will. More high wind up to about 40 and 45.
Yeah, that's important. I think those have kind of been undercut a little bit just because of all the focus on this afternoon, but there will be strong winds into tomorrow morning still that will make both just cleanup a little bit trickier. That'll also mean still the potential for blowing debris. That's also, tree branches maybe that were either loosened up or, are still caught up in the trees that could fall. So do still stay weather aware even still into tomorrow with those gusty winds continuing for us across the area. Again, I know it's moving out of our area, but do still want to make sure folks, as it is kind of a more populated area towards off towards DeWitt into Clinton County, Davenport down there, that there is still tornadic activity. So if you know folks over there, give them a call. Make sure they're staying weather aware. Make sure they're paying attention to the latest updates from their local TV stations as well.
I'm going to ask our newsroom if they could. I've got a report potentially that Highway 13 and 20 shut down due to tornado damage in Delaware County. I wonder if our newsroom could check on that. Highway 13 and 20 shut down in Spa somewhere in Delaware County due to tornado damage. They'll take a look at it. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So that's that warning up here. The one that we were tracking for the Manchester area here a short while ago.
Always a sign of hope. We have several rainbows that are coming in behind this system, and it seems to happen after every major storm that moves through. So again, if you suffered damage, there are some signs of hope out there. We'll all make it through, but certainly thinking about you a lot. Again, thankfully, again, I haven't heard of any injuries. Hopefully that will be the case and continued to as we watch these storms continue to move through.
We've been talking about the kind of backside of that line moving through the area. I think it's pretty well safe to say that Iowa City is kind of on the backside of this now. Cedar Rapids area, still a little bit of rain for us, but I think the strongest of the winds are past us at this time. And then further up to the north, Waterloo, you're pretty well in the clear. Obviously, still potential for some rain, but the winds, the damaging parts of these storms moving past you up towards Independence, also now getting into the clear of the severe portion of these storms. So just kind of centering everybody on what exactly we're dealing with. The strongest of these storms now moving into far eastern Iowa, and even into northeastern Iowa up towards the Dubuque area here as we continue to watch those warnings, several tornado warnings, again, still in effect for us across the area at this time.
Again, many reasons not to go out and take a look at the storm damage, but we did confirm that Highway 20 westbound at Highway 13 is blocked due to debris on the roadway. So Highway 20 westbound up in Delaware County at Highway 13 is blocked. There is a detour in progress to get around that debris. And again, debris, power lines, just the fact that people need to figure out what they need to do and not have people trying to look at storm damage are just a number of reasons why you should not be going out tonight to take a look at this.
Absolutely, yeah. Let everybody do what they need to do. Don't put yourself in any more danger than you need to. Just stay, if you're in a safe place, try to stay put. Let those first responders do what they need to do and get everybody hopefully safe ahead, again, of those gusty winds that we'll see tomorrow outside of any thunderstorms, and hopefully can get some stuff cleaned up here this evening ahead of that. Just kind of a quick little radar picture. Anywhere along that kind of main initial line from Manchester towards Dubuque, down towards Maquoketa and down towards Davenport, any of those areas right now have tornado warnings in effect. We've had confirmed reports. Some of those are radar indicated, but either way, even without those confirmed reports, know that there is that potential that there could be tornadoes within these or very strong winds. It's hard to get those confirmed reports with some of these as those storms have more moisture, more rain and stuff with them. Just kind of the nature of how those storms are moving through at this time. So know that there is that potential, and do be in your safe place if there is a tornado warning out for your area. Looks like we've just got a new warning in for Jackson County, again, still radar indicated at this time. And
it looks like if you pop on, excuse me, the debris indicator view, we may have at least some signature there north of Maquoketa, that little roundish area about near Highway 61. That looks like the tornado probably taking place on radar, likely causing at least a little bit of damage. Could be rural areas, just trees and other such material, since it's in a fairly rural area. But of course, people live out in rural areas too. Passing near the Andrew area along Highway 62. That's where that potential tornado looks fairly likely that there is one on radar.
And again, a lot of these that are radar indicated, maybe people thinking, well, it's not confirmed, so I don't need to. Well, the reason that it's there is because it is radar indicated, and we're seeing at multiple levels of the radar, both in that reflectivity picture, the wind, that debris detection, that there could be a tornado on the ground. So as Corey mentioned, the Andrew area, moving in that general direction, do be in your safe place at this time. Ping pong ball size tail also associated with this system. Since that one's a new warning, most recently located over the Fulton area, or let's see, yeah, and moving northeast about 40 miles per hour. So that's the latest warning that we have there.
Said we have numerous crews out. TV9's Becky Phelps is live in downtown Solon, joins us, and we saw that they had damage live from our city cam. Becky, what are you seeing right from the downtown area?
We are here in Solon, right in front of a hardware store and a Mexican restaurant that has seen some storm damage to their roof. So I'm going to step out of the way here so you can get a better look at that. But up at the top, you can see some bricks exposed, and we've seen some first responders driving around town, checking in with people about damage and things like that. Driving into town, we saw through some housing developments, some minor damage there to homes, some playgrounds blown over, trampolines damaged, and here downtown there are some minor tree branches down, pieces of siding in the sidewalk. And we spoke with some people here in town really quick who say that the storm felt like it moved through fast, and it went fast for them, although it was a scary experience for them. So again, we are here in downtown Solon, seeing some minor damage to buildings here. We're going to throw it back to you guys.
And we saw that damage live on our city cam as it moved through. Becky's confirming now more damage in Solon itself. Let's take a look at that city cam video again. And we were watching it live as it happened, as it was moving through.
Yeah, pretty intense stuff.
Watch the right side of your screen for that roof to lift off the building there. Yep.
And there you go. It's that quickly that moved through and that roof was gone. And you'll see as we move a little farther forward some of the pieces of that roof. Actually, what I want to go to is graphics 12 if we can. This is also some video we've got in from a viewer. Emily, thank you for bringing this in. This is in the Solon area as well. I'm looking at more damage. There's been some grain bins certainly damaged. I saw in some of the video as we were moving through. We'll see what we find in this one.
Power poles, it looks like.
Oh yeah, power poles down. So again, that's very common across the area. And we'll take a look at the other one as well. I think this one shows some grain bin damage, which I'm sure we will be hearing more about as well. In eastern Iowa there, you see one of the grain bins totally down due to that wind. They're kind of out there. They're big structures, and
looks
we know.
new too, unfortunately.
Yeah, those
Exactly.
hollow structures can really
some
get
tree
impacted.
damage there you can see coming in.
Structure damage
Yep,
too.
lots of structure damage. That looks like a farm with lots of structure damage. That again, in the Solon area, more of the bins damaged as well. So
Do also want to know, please be safe while you're sending us your videos. Don't drive and take videos, and be sure you're in a safe area. That's important.
there may come a time when that's illegal.
It's true.
Quite possibly.
Should not do it. So make sure
Yes,
you're
so
not doing that.
That's the latest. We do appreciate Emily.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. But put your safety first. Absolutely.
sure.
That's what we've been here telling you all afternoon. Put your safety first. Get to your safe places. Several tornado warnings still out there for us across eastern Iowa. Again, a large portion of this, though, kind of moving beyond the areas we've been talking about a lot here, Iowa City as well as Cedar Rapids area. It still does look like there's a little bit of precipitation, and there we are, that severe thunderstorm warning for us just off into kind of the eastern side of Lynn County at this time. That's for 80-mile-per-hour winds. So again, very strong winds, very powerful winds, and a very large warning associated with those. That includes Jackson, Buchanan, Cedar, Dubuque, Jones, Delaware, Lynn County, Clinton County as well. As those storms are moving out of the area, but we're getting closer to being kind of on the backside of that system. Dubuque, though, again, you're kind of just getting into the thick of it right now. There are some tornado warnings in Dubuque County, but none for Dubuque itself.
Yeah, I think that one even for Delaware County maybe has expired at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't popped off our screen yet,
Yep.
but. Yeah, that one in Dubuque County, it's fairly weak rotation. If we take max 2 real quick.
I think we're going to go Joe, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we actually we heard about a lot of damage. We saw some of the damage in Hills. We have Sheila Eckrich on the phone. Sheila's in Hills. And Sheila, what have you seen as far as damage and when the storm went through?
We wasn't here when the storm went through, but I was talking to one of my friends that lives at a different location, and she asked me if I had heard that a tornado had hit Hills. And I said, no, I hadn't heard. So after the wind calmed down and everything, we came over here to see what the real damage was, or if there was any real damage. And it's like, OMG, this is a new housing section. There are so many houses destroyed.
you really painted a picture for us of what it's like in Hills right now. We thank you for that. Sheila, stay safe. Sheila Eckrich on Newsline 9 telling us it sounds like there's numerous houses damaged or completely destroyed were the words that she used as well. We do have a news crew on the way to Hills as well. We'll be giving some indication of what we find once we get our news crew in place down in Hills. Looks like that line is approaching the Mississippi River.
It does.
Getting close. It's getting close, but it's got a little bit to go yet before it clears the area. Severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings continue across a good portion of the area. That Dubuque tornado warning for another couple of minutes. Yep. Haven't heard any new reports from there, and we've got a decent look at it in our Piasta City Cam if you want to put that in picture on the lower right. I'm not seeing anything in particular there that would immediately raise suspicion, which is always good news. Just some scary looking clouds there from our city cam view, but nothing that indicates immediately a tornado. But other warnings continue all up and down the line. Jan, if you want to go through some of those.
Yeah, let's do that tour again, kind of across the area. Here's that wide look that you're used to seeing from us. Actually, before I do that wide tour, we're going to go talk about a tornado warning that just came out that is radar indicated and includes Joe Davies County, Dubuque, and Jackson counties for us at this time. So again, that until 6:45. Dubuque, Jackson, Joe Davies counties included in that warning.
Give me an update on
and we'll see the potential for a tornado with that. Again, radar indicated rotation. Joe Davies County, Jackson County, Dubuque County, that in effect until 6:45 right now. That while that does include part of Dubuque County, you can kind of see there just off there to the south. It does not include Dubuque itself, but it does include Galena, Bellevue, Rice there into Joe Davies County. So all areas that we're continuing to watch. Let's go check out, see what that rotation looks like. Kind of just hard to discern anything from that, but I mean, you can see some of those brighter returns. Anywhere with those could be the potential for some strong winds, but again, please be in that safe place. Probably, even if there is a tornado, wouldn't be confirmed. It is just going to be radar indicated because as these storms have kind of moved through, the way that they evolve, we're getting more of that rain with them. It's hard to really see anything more out of those. Looks like another new tornado warning just off to the south of that as well. Weather Service kind of advancing those past warnings on and into parts of far eastern Iowa and into Illinois as well. It looks like Clinton County included in that one, and that one is observed, if I'm reading right.
Yes, it is radar confirmed, I think.
Okay.
And so on the radar view, pretty tight rotation north of Goose Lake would be head toward Miles, Preston, Green Island potentially. This is kind of the same storm that moved near DeWitt and all the way back toward areas of southeast Cedar County. That storm that you were just talking about in Dubuque and Jackson and Joe Davies, I think that was probably the original storm that moved all the way down from Ottumwa. Yeah. I think we could trace its lineage back there, but you see that area of rotation that Jan's highlighted. Yeah. In fact, no, go ahead.
We've been on and talking about these storms again since, as Corey just mentioned, since Ottumwa, since back around the 2 o'clock hour. So we've been talking about these a while, and there's been about one or two that have really been pretty well long-lived and sustained that we've really been tracking that rotation on.
I want to show you something here on radar using our debris tracker. So there's a pretty clear debris signature with it. That reduced area that you can see with the blues and greens, this is where debris is being picked up by the radar. But I want to step it back in time just a couple seconds. And you can see that it looks like it moved through the Charlotte area. You can see that ball that goes through the Charlotte area. And then a bunch of this blue and green goes to the north. This area up here is likely debris that is falling further to the north in the storm. We've seen reports of that earlier today, but it looks like Charlotte, which is in northern Clinton County, just on the edge of our area here, likely saw some pretty significant damage there based on that information from the radar.
Yeah, exactly. We've had those reports coming in from, example, the video we had from Ely of the tornado, or of the corn stalks kind of coming down. And the nearest that we had any rotation to that was 15 miles away. So again, those storms are very powerful, very strong upward motion, updrafts with those that can really loft things up into the sky as those storms are rolling through the area. Again, just taking one more wide picture for you as those storms really push off to the east, continuing to move out of the area along the Mississippi River there. Davenport area under several different tornado warnings. Again, if you're in that area, tune into the local stations there. They'll be covering things. For the Dubuque area, Jackson, Joe Daviess counties as well, that radar indicated tornado warning that we were just highlighting there. And then also this one, still about 2 minutes left on that one for Dubuque County for radar indicated rotation. Pretty well, I think, out of that actual warning polygon now, up towards Graph probably. So guessing they'll let that one expire here pretty soon.
And if we go ahead and go to graphics 12 again, we've got a picture, shows a couple things. This is just west of Keota, one spot that we saw a lot of damage. You can certainly see the structural damage, boy. But take a look at that tree. You see this every time with tornadic storms.
Yep.
You've got that tree kind of sheared off at the top. And just an indication that it's tornado moved through this area, destroyed whatever structure that was.
It unfortunately looks like a residence.
Yeah, and it very well could be.
Yeah.
And it very well could be. So that's something that we're seeing in spots. We have had reports from hills. We'll have some video coming up a little bit later, I understand, of some damage that we heard about just a little while ago when we talked to Sheila, who was down in hills. We've had damage in Solon. We've had damage in Lone Tree. We've had damage in Coralville. I'm sure there are many other places as well. Up toward Manchester, certainly Delaware County, we had a tornado move through, and certainly with debris in the area. And I noticed that just taking a look at the power outage map, Delaware County suddenly shot up as well. They now have about 4,500 people without power as well. Cedar County now up to about 3,000. So numerous power outages in many portions of the TV9 viewing area. So again, just an indication of what this storm has done across a large portion. Sometimes we see these and it's a small spot, right? Now, not today. It's a widespread swath of damage all across eastern Iowa.
And that's really what that high risk that we talked about that came out during the midday show when Jan was on the air, that's what it means. That's what it's there to indicate. It's there to indicate widespread and particularly intense. It's both. And unfortunately, we've seen both. Some days, you know, you wish that it doesn't play out that way.
Of course.
And unfortunately, today was the day where all the ingredients came together. They combined into some very violent results.
Now,
Yeah.
you never want to see severe weather as of this moment. I have not heard that there's been any injury, which is good. We'll keep hope that that's the case.
Yes.
Buildings, structures, that can be replaced. People cannot. So we want to hope that that certainly continues as well, and that you can just took the advice and stayed safe.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody, you know, staying with us here through the afternoon, trusting us to help keep you safe, and trusting us throughout the week leading up to this, as we kind of forecast these storms again since. Really for quite some time, and we've been highlighting that potential for severe storms all week long, and they are playing out. You know, if you stepped outside this morning, it felt kind of soupy out there. That's that moisture that those storms have been kind of feeding off of, and everything kind of setting up, as Corey said, just right for the ingredients for those storms. Now, the good news is those storms are moving now eventually out of eastern Iowa. You can see most of that activity kind of pushing off to the east. Even some warnings starting to happen for the Chicago area. So if you know anybody there, give them a heads up. Right now, though, for us here in eastern Iowa, pretty much just this one warning left in our viewing area that includes Dubuque, Jackson, Joe Daviess County. That does include Galena. And again, that storm kind of rushing off to the north and east for us has been the motion of these storms here for the last while, about 55 miles per hour, and that's radar indicated rotation right now. But we've kind of been tracking that system here for a while, and again, all of those storms powerful. Even the severe thunderstorms outside of the tornado warnings producing anywhere up to about 80-mile-per-hour winds. And it looks like the National Weather Service kind of warning out ahead of the potential for some strong winds with that same kind of part of the system, again, up to 80-mile-per-hour winds. The good news is, if you can find good news in this, I guess, is that the strongest of the winds kind of starting to come up as those storms are exiting our area.
But as they do, as Joe highlighted earlier in our coverage, if we could take Max 2 real quick, wind gusts behind the storms in the clear air are still pretty strong, 40 to 50 miles per hour at times. We've had a couple reports just over 50 miles per hour. So that will complicate cleanup efforts, unfortunately, as Joe was mentioning earlier too. And we're seeing that, and then even stronger wind gusts reported in Nebraska and South Dakota. So this really strong area of low pressure that generated all these storms, also big tight pressure gradient. It's going to produce some pretty strong winds probably through Saturday even. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with. And another reason to stay away from those areas that have been damaged. There's lots of loose stuff laying around in areas that have been damaged. It could be blown around even by winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour, like tree limbs that have been snapped but not ripped off the tree. Those could fall in those types of winds, and that could cause injury if you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Looks like they are continuing that warning, that tornado warning for Carroll, Joe Davies, Jackson counties. A confirmed tornado located about 16 miles north of Clinton over Mills for that area. Again, if you're watching from in the Davenport area or Clinton, Scott counties, tune into local media there. They'll give you continued updates. We're mainly still tracking this Dubuque, Jackson, Joe Davies area for that radar indicated rotation. These storms really continuing to rush to the east. Let's take a look at graphics 12.
Yeah, let's go to graphics 12 for a minute. That's a video from earlier. This was sent to us by Jerica. This is near the Kyoto area when there were 2 tornadoes on the ground, as we had reports from that very large and very strong one on the right-hand side with a very clear mesocyclone, wall cloud, all very textbook on the right. And then as the camera pans to the left, you can see the smaller satellite tornado, they call it, second one off to the left side here in just a second. That's the one we could see from our Sigourney City cam live on the air. The other one was obscured, so unfortunately we weren't able to see the biggest one at the same time. There was some rain behind it, but that second one is what we saw, and that's just very strong. In fact, even the smaller one probably pretty strong for the time it was on the ground.
I mean, but like look up through that cloud, you can see that kind of spinning.
Whole thing's rotating.
Yeah.
It's shaped like a cylinder.
Exactly. Yeah, that's of course that textbook kind of thing where you know, some people compare it to a barbershop pole or something like that, where you can see that entire storm system rotating as it's moving through the area. Fortunately, it looks mainly rural, but
yeah, but unfortunately we know it wasn't.
But definitely, there has been a lot of people impacted by the weather today, and. We're definitely our thoughts are with everybody.
We now have some reports of structural damage on the south side of Manchester. That would also include power lines, power poles, but some structural damage too. So we suspected that when we heard Highway 13 and 20, or Highway 20 was blocked right at Highway 13 for a period of time with the detour in the area, that there had been some structure putting that debris on the roadway. And again, that's what we're hearing now, is that as those storms now beginning to cross areas of the Mississippi as far as the tornadic storms themselves.
Yeah, so here's where those storms are right now, as Joe just said, kind of pushing off toward the Mississippi at this time. Cedar Rapids, Iowa City in the clear now, back behind these the most intense storms. While we will see those winds picking up again overnight into tomorrow morning, the storms themselves, the winds with those storms, are now past the area, but we are continuing to stay on for our viewers in Dubuque County, Jackson, Joe Davies County as well, as those storms continue to push off out of the TV9 viewing area. Even still though, again, as Joe was just mentioning there, in the Manchester area that was received some substantial damage, that severe thunderstorm warning back behind, still in effect for about 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts in that area. So still dealing with some strong storms moving through the area, but fortunately kind of seeing things coming to an end. Looks like we are still getting in maybe some further damage reports here that we'll take a look at in just a second.
Joey, I understand we got another viewer picture from Benton County.
Yeah, and
Let's
Vincent,
take a look at graphics 12 if we
one
could.
that we're following as well as that storm moved through. You can certainly see debris in the field from that structure in the farm. Certainly damage. You also can notice some of the roof damage as well to that area. Plenty of debris out in the field as well. So again, numerous structures in some way. That door maybe even kind of peeled away a little bit in the strong winds or whatever was moving through the Vinton area at the time. Did have a lot of report of some small hail also kind of raining down in the Vinton area. Benton County right now specifically about 300 power outages. Now some power outages even up toward Clayton County. So again, as that storm has moved through, we've noticed more and more power outages moving through this near the Garrison area. Again, in Benton County, structural damage that we're seeing up and down across eastern. I wonder if with that Hills video, did that ever come to fruition or not, Aaron? Okay, we're going to check because Hills was one of the areas that we saw. We had one video from a viewer that took it, started at the Casey's and kind of moved through the town of Hills, and we certainly saw damage there. Wanted to see if we could effort that video as well to take a look and see apparently a lot of structural damage in Hills. We are headed there as well. We have a crew that's been in Coralville for a while, now in Hills. Of course, Becky Phelps is in Solon. We're in Wellman and Lone Tree taking a look at damage. We'll be going elsewhere as well across eastern Iowa, Keota, because we've seen numerous spots of damage, not just one isolated area. It is widespread across portions of eastern Iowa. And the storms still continue a bit, although it does look like, again, as you mentioned, for Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and Waterloo, the storms are done. As expected, we're nearing the 6:30 half hour. Which again, thought these storms would be out by 7. It certainly looks like they will be out of the entire viewing area by 7 o'clock. And thankfully right now not hearing of damage across areas of Dubuque County as those storms move through.
We are getting some reports, though, of damage now in the Mount Vernon and Lisbon areas. Again, as we were tracking those storms moving through that area, you know, we were here with you tracking those. So we've got a crew on the way, it sounds like, and we'll have some further updates here later on. But again, thinking of everybody who's being impacted by these storms directly and indirectly. And continuing to track things here with you as they move through Dubuque County, and for our viewers there in Dubuque County, Jackson, Joe Davies counties, that's where we still have radar indicated rotation at this time being reported. Again, not including Dubuque itself. Looks like it's moving now off into Joe Davies County. They've expired that Dubuque County warning specifically. So we're starting to see things kind of clearing out of the area a little bit better for us at this time, but still those severe thunderstorm warnings are in place.
If we go back to graphics 12 for a second, just so that we got that word from the newsroom, here's the view from near Lisbon at the very least. It looks like a sort of a manufactured outbuilding type structure. Took some pretty significant damage there. Another view as I flip through the pictures here, just give me a second. Some more roof damage and structure damage to another building there. That one not as severely damaged, but still looking fairly significant, at least in terms of needing repair. So that's our view from Lisbon. We'll obviously be checking in on that area a little bit more too, just to see if there's anything else in the surrounding region.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're still getting plenty of damage reports. Not something we like to hear. Haven't heard any reports of injuries. That is certainly some good news for us. Thank you guys for heeding those warnings and continuing to act accordingly. Still watching again those areas just off towards the Mississippi River, as well as those severe thunderstorm warnings back into Manchester and down through Delaware County, down towards Jones and Cedar County, that able to produce some strong winds anywhere from 70 to 80 miles per hour as well.
Let's go ahead to Hills right now. Brian Tabak, who earlier joined us from Coralville, has now made it to Hills. Brian, we've been hearing that there's been a lot of damage in the Hills area from numerous callers. We had one phoner on. Have you seen a lot of that damage?
Yeah, Joe, I'm near the old Highway 218 in that Casey's right when you head into Hills, and you can see it starting right behind me. There's siding blown off here on there. The siding where it probably came from, the house across the street from it. You can see that completely peeled off, more of that siding on the ground. Everything's kind of covered here with insulation. Neighbors have started to collaborate, trying to find places where they can help. Again, you can see just catastrophic damage. A lot of the apartment complexes, you can see right into their living areas. You can see beds, you can see windows, some of the windows blown out. But again, they're already starting to try and clean up some of that mess. A lot of people picking up debris, trying to find where they are best fit to help. Live in Hills, Brian Tabak, KCRG-TV 9 News.
You can still hear me, but I'm curious, any kind of command center set up in Hills for folks that obviously won't be able to stay in those structures that you mentioned?
But other than that, there's not really a command center or anything that I'm seeing at this point. Just a lot of people out looking, assessing that damage, looking to where they'd best be able to help out in this situation.
Appreciate it, Brian. Stay safe, and again, don't get into any of the debris in that, but Hills certainly sounds like it was hard hit.
Yeah, and a lot of times after big impacts like this, there will be something set up, kind of like you were talking about. So I wouldn't be surprised if we hear maybe from the emergency manager or something sometime soon that they're sending volunteers to one particular place. It's great that everybody wants to help, but sometimes it almost causes more of a problem by having everybody everywhere.
Absolutely.
So do continue to look for that information.
Hills among the communities that were pretty hard hit. I mean, I'm looking just through the pictures that we have and just the list of towns that are associated with it. So we had Hills, we had parts of Iowa City, we had parts of Coralville, parts of Tiffin had some damage, near Anamosa, near North Liberty, near Keota, of course, and Wellman have been pretty heavily covered because they had that significant tornado moving through. Lisbon. I mean, it just goes on in places that we've had at least reports of damage. Other places have had reports of large hail. Luckily, I mean, not everyone's going to have that sort of significant damage, but I don't think there's a piece of eastern Iowa that these storms didn't really touch, which is really kind of what we were fearing going into the day, and that kind of came true, unfortunately. But we're still holding out hope that injuries are non-existent or limited.
Absolutely, yeah. We haven't heard any word of that, and that's great. That we aren't. Hopefully that stays the case. Again, those that are impacted by this, though, our thoughts are with you. We know that this, anything that's happening to you personally is very impactful, and we are definitely thinking of that. Do want to take away from the radar for a second and go back and touch base on that tornado watch, as we are starting to see some counties kind of getting expired from that area. Let's see if we can find that here for a second. I don't know if that one is actually updating properly or not.
I'm not sure that they've changed it yet.
Looks like they may have just come out with something.
Okay,
so
something fresh.
Yeah, trying to see if we can get that update in. Yeah, there.
A few more counties out. Yeah.
So, seeing a couple more of those counties getting taken out of that area. Again, still does include Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, but for the most part, as we're looking at the radar picture, that threat has moved past our areas. So I'd expect to see that here shortly. And then again, all those storms now off towards the Mississippi River and into the Joe Davies County area. That's what we're still tracking here. Also, that severe thunderstorm warning back into parts of eastern Iowa that could still produce some strong winds, again, back towards Manchester, Dubuque, Maquoketa, Monticello. Those areas could still see the 70-mile-per-hour winds, but as that line continues to really push past, that threat is quickly dying out. So that's, again, very good news.
If you are in a place where the wind is out of the due west at this point, your severe weather threat is over. You're behind the boundary, and basically the boundary is about to get to the Dubuque area right now. That first and second line of storms has really kind of combined at this point, but still have those embedded potential circulations for parts of Jackson and Joe Daviess County as it moves to the east. But drier and cooler air will start to work in. We were close to 70 or above it in some spots today. Northwest Iowa right now in Spencer, it is 39. 36 up in Sioux City, so that air is coming here.
Yeah, exactly. Probably already starting to feel a little bit less soupy out there.
Yes.
And as those storms have used up a lot of that moisture.
Dew points are
cooler
down.
temperatures, stronger winds, though, all kind of moving in back behind that eventually. As we head into tomorrow morning, again, we've kind of talked about that, where we could see winds in that 40 or 50 mile per hour range still tomorrow morning, not associated with thunderstorms, but just very gusty winds. So that will also kind of hamper that storm cleanup as that's the mode that we're starting to look ahead to. So do know that is also something that we're continuing to watch here. Again, the reason that we're still on for you right now, we're still tracking that tornado warning for Joe Daviess County. 1 inch hail possible with that, as well as that radar indicated rotation with that tornado warning, and that's in effect for us until 6:45 right now. Last noted near Galena, moving northeast about 55 miles per hour. Continuing to
The newest information, yeah, it's just really starting to cross the river, which is great news. And the Weather Service, as we were talking, just did remove a whole bunch of counties too from the tornado watch in the Quad Cities. So Cedar Rapids, Iowa City.
Looks like maybe that hasn't quite come through on our graphic yet, but it does look like
most of eastern
Benton,
Iowa.
Buchanan, Cedar, Delaware, Des Moines, Henry, Iowa, Jefferson, Johnson, Jones, Keokuk, Lee, Lynn, Louisa, Muscatine, Van Buren, Washington counties, all will be expired here shortly. So again, that threat kind of diminishing for us at this time. That's certainly good news if you're in the Cedar Rapids, the Iowa City areas, up towards Waterloo, Fayette, Decorah, any of those areas now behind the strongest of these storms.
We return to the Coralville Strip right now. Libby joins us, KCRG. And Libby, what are you seeing in Coralville? We've seen that there's been a lot of damage in many locations.
Well, Joe, let me start by telling you that getting here to Coralville, it was a pretty smooth trip, but as we got closer to this area, we're along Highway 6 right now, traffic started to slow down. We soon found out that was because a lot of the power is out at these businesses along Highway 6. As you may be able to see behind me, and actually I'm going to step out of the way so my photographer Brad can show you a better image, there's a lot of power poles down along Highway 6, along the railroad tracks that run along Highway 6. And just down Highway 6, we've seen a lot of businesses be affected by this weather here tonight. We saw one, I believe it's a painting company, a lot of their warehouse has been affected. There's a lot of damage there. We saw one side of the warehouse completely torn off by the weather that they saw here this evening, and a lot of their, what I'm assuming is inventory, a lot of their supplies scattered along Highway 6. Again, as you may be able to see, these poles down along the railroad tracks, and there are many vehicles along this way that I'm assuming Iowa DOT, law enforcement, as you may be able to see, other people as a part of these crews that are working to help protect these travelers along Highway 6 and eventually, hopefully, get the power up along this very, very busy street. Now, like I said, traffic is very slow the closer you get to this area. That's because they have it blocked off, obviously. The power is out, and so are the traffic lights. And so they're trying to keep people safe. There's a road that runs behind a lot of the hotels that are along Highway 6. And so that's what they're working to do. Again, working to keep people safe. This is just the initial reaction, the initial images that we are seeing as we just got here several minutes ago. And we will continue to keep you updated on that. But for now, live in Coralville, Libby Randall, KCRG-TV 9 News.
Libby, great report in a very unfortunate situation, and just painting that picture of the poles down and suddenly You have no power, you have debris covering the roads, you have no lights, you have all sorts of things that's going to snarl that traffic. Also have reports from the Benton County EMA that they are reporting damage to machine sheds northwest of Vinton along Highway 218. Also on the Benton-Buchanan County line damage, the EMA, the directors thought that it was straight line winds of about 70 to 80 that caused some damage in that area too, which is very plausible, especially that secondary line that moved through had some really powerful winds.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, going back to the report that Libby showed us, you know, we've got things covering the roads, things covering the railroad tracks. That's going to impact things. And again, live power lines oftentimes. So kind of a...
So what does it tell you? Don't go out tonight. Our crews are out. We are showing you the damage, unfortunately, that's out there. That's out there, but we're doing it as safe as we can. We don't need a lot of people out there doing that.
Exactly. Don't add to the plethora of people out there and put yourself in any harm or hamper those first responder efforts either.
We saw that after, you know, everyone's mind thinks about the derecho in terms of major events. We saw that afterwards. There was lines of cars all over Cedar Rapids metro area as people are trying to clean up and get to their homes. So if you are the lucky one that didn't have damage today, we'll bring it to you here on TV9. You don't have to go out and look for it yourself.
Yep, we'll have all the latest updates.
All right, I understand now. In fact, let's take a look at this, and then we'll take a look. This is in Tipton. Some damage in Tipton. Again, we're seeing a lot of outbuilding damage. Obviously, the side and the roof kind of taken off of those structures.
That's something we commonly see is those wide spans roofs, you know, machine shed style things or anything like that have those very wide spanses, or things that have those big doors like a garage door. Those are areas that typically fail in strong winds or tornadoes. That's why they're not good shelters. That's why we say get to a sturdy shelter, get to a safe shelter. Don't just find a building, because things like this can happen.
If you want to go to Max 2 real quick, unless we have something else in the queue. There we go. Storm reports over the last 6 hours. So this is the overview. A lot of hail reports today, especially as the storms initially developed. They really tapped into the energy we had in the atmosphere. And as they moved into eastern Iowa, they moved into the area where we had the wind shear. We talked about these terms a little bit this week leading up to it. And that's when they acquired those tornadic characteristics. So you can kind of see a line that separates where it was just large hail and when the tornado reports started. And unfortunately, it's basically the western edge of our viewing area as things started to move to the northeast. Let's take a quick look at how much, or the number of reports, at least preliminarily, about a 200 report day for the state of Iowa. Many of which were hail, but several of which were also wind damage, funnels. Unfortunately, we have so many reports it kind of cuts off there before we get to the tornado reports, but quite a few, and we'll obviously have to wait on the National Weather Service to give us a better picture of what type of tornado tracks, how strong they were officially, how many tornadoes exactly took place in Iowa today, but the answer is at least several.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point. You know, these storm surveys, they will take time.
Yeah. Especially when you have higher end events like this, because there's more to cover, and so it takes a little bit longer. So that what was likely a long track tornado from near Ottumwa to near Kyoto and Wellman in Washington County. I mean, that spans dozens of miles.
Yeah,
they have a lot to cover.
They've got to get out and they've got to survey that entire area. Think about what we were just saying, where the roads are blocked, power is out. You know, they have to get around those places. When they're doing those storm surveys, they're having to, you know, oftentimes these are people from our National Weather Service office in the Davenport area. They're coming into territory that they're not familiar with, so they have to figure out what was in this area before, so they can give it a proper EF rating, because that EF scale is a damage-based scale. So again, all things that go into that storm survey, you know, it may be the end of the weekend or early next week before we have a good indication of all of everything that unfolded here this afternoon.
Yeah, you can see that path of that funnel cloud report initially near Ottumwa, and then just tornado reports all along a line. I'm going to assume, if not that entire path is one continuous path, it's going to be close to it.
Yeah.
It's going to be at most 2 or 3 along that whole path, just because of the reports we had and the pictures and video we've seen of that tornado. It just sort of maintained that characteristic the whole time. Yeah,
we showed you that video of that large and damaging tornado on the ground earlier. That's kind of that path that we were tracking. Again, for those impacted still now, obviously plenty of damage out there. We also have over 6,000 people or customers without power in the Delaware County area, down to the South Keokuk County, over 2,000 people without power. Into Cedar County, 1,300. 1,500 in Jackson County. So again, a lot of reports coming in of power outages, even about 8,000 in the Lynn County area. So even as those storms have moved through, again, it takes time for everybody to get out there, and especially something like this that's kind of widespread across multiple parts of the area. You know, maybe crews can normally kind of call in help from another company or something like that, but because it's such a widespread event, it may take a little bit of extra time. Also, the warning that you see on your screen that includes parts of Delaware, western Dubuque, and northern Jones County, that actually is no longer in effect. On very busy days like this, occasionally a glitch slips through the system, and so that one has since expired. Very few warnings are actually in effect still for even any the edges of the TV9 viewing area, just that area near Joe Davies County. Dubuque even has exited the severe weather possibility, but there has been at least one report of perhaps wind damage not related to the storm now near Dubuque.
And we are hearing those gusts very strong, as we talked about, behind the system as well. I would like to, at this point in time, thank you guys. You were fantastic. Great coverage. Also, I want to thank our radio partners that were joining us. Many ways to receive severe weather information. How many times do we say that? Thanks to our radio partners as well for being there for us.
Yeah, thank you guys for trusting us here throughout the afternoon, throughout this evening. It's been a long one, but hey, we've made it through together, so we're happy that we're out on the other side, and we're gonna send it over to Jim and Beth for a further look on what all has been unfolding for us here this afternoon.
Thank you.
They have done a great job this afternoon. And of course, the storm is now, as you saw, so quickly moving. It went through areas very quickly, but the path of damage in eastern Iowa is widespread. I mean, you could start from Ottumwa to Keota to Wellman, then into the Iowa City area, and then on into Solon. It's just a large area that has seen damage, but once again, we do want to underline the fact that we have not heard of any injuries, serious or otherwise, and we are hoping that remains the case tonight.
And that could be due in large part because we had so much lead time. I mean, I think Kai put out the first alert internally on Monday that this was potentially coming. Now, live on the air, if you've been following our coverage this afternoon into the evening, you saw we were live on the air as one of those storms moved through Solon. What a terrifying image that was. We have a reporter live in Solon to show you the damage that storm left behind. KCRG-TV9's Becky Phelps joins us now live from Solon. Becky?
Beth, Jim, we are here in front of what is the most significant damage we've seen here in Solon. It is a tree that's fallen on a house. You can see this is the tree, the base of the tree, and you can see the roots here have been pulled up and it's fallen onto a house right next to it. You can see the branches going into the side of the house. The siding's damaged. Branches fallen onto the roof over there, leaning on half of the garage here. And a little bit off to the side, one of the garage doors has appeared to blown off. It's sitting in the driveway. This is, again, the most significant damage that we've seen. We've also seen the roofs of a hardware store and a Mexican restaurant blown off as well, and that left some significant damage and some roofing laying on the ground behind in a parking lot. I talked to the mayor a little bit earlier, and he said that he's grateful that, again, no injuries so far have been reported, and he's asking for prayers for the families who have seen some damage and room to let first responders work. Live in Solon, Becky Phelps, KCRG-TV9 News.
We do want to share with you that video that was captured live from our city cam. It was amazing as this storm was going through Solon.
I mean, look at that. It's a pea soup. That color is just unsettling. And what we understand now is as that storm was moving through, you can see on the right side, actually a roof was peeled off in that part of Solon. And the good news, as Jim, you mentioned, we have not heard reports of people injured or people killed. We have heard that some animals have been killed on farms. But this storm, as it moved through Solon, watching it happen in real time, a lot of it is disguised because the rain was falling, so we can't see much depth there. But you can tell that storm was ominous and did cause, look at that, there's the portion of the roof that fell on its neighbor there in Solon. We have also heard from Johnson County Emergency Management. They are aware that there have been damage reports in multiple parts of Johnson County, and they are checking it out right now. I mean, this is what they do for a living, is respond to disasters and emergencies of this kind. So if you're in an area that needs help, certainly reach out, but if it's more mild and you haven't seen anyone yet, they're still making their way through the county, is our understanding.
Well, and as you saw in that video, I mean, from the beginning of the storm impact through the majority of the rain and the wind going through, it was a period of 45 seconds to a minute 15. It was very quickly.
Yes.
And that gave people very little time to seek shelter, which is why the alerts were on all this afternoon, because we knew it was going to come through very quickly, and we did see that a lot in the Iowa City area.
So right near Iowa City, you know, if you're not familiar with Hills, it's almost like a little enclave in the midst of Iowa City, about population, I believe, roughly 1,000, also obviously in Johnson County. We understand Hills has an incredible amount of damage. KCRG-TV 9's Brian Tabak has been in the community for the last 30 or so minutes, checking it out. Brian, what can you share with us?
Devastating, Beth. That's the word I would use right now when you see what is going on around me. If you look at the house behind me, you can see right into what looks like a living room of some sort where people would gather. All around me, you've got debris, whether that's wood, metal, it's insulation, probably from one of the houses. The house to the left of me, the entire top level is gone. Nick, if you want to go ahead and pan over there, I can't move over there because of all the debris around me. But this is what you are seeing. People have now started to work together, trying to start picking up some of this debris. You can see, Nick, if you want to pan to the right here, people are starting to move some of that siding, getting friends, family all together, moving all of that to their front of their lawns here. But again, the amount of damage is absolutely devastating. Again, debris everywhere. People have started to board up their windows. You can see cars, smashed windows on those cars. I was speaking to a gentleman earlier this afternoon who he's here visiting, but he's helping his family find pictures that were blown away in the storm. Those valuable things that you really just cannot replace once they're gone. He's finding them on people's front lawns. So again, devastating is that word that I'll use. Live in Hills, Brian Tabak, KCRG-TV 9 News.
All right, thank you, Brian. We are able to talk to the mayor of Hills. Tim Kemp is joining us by phone. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us. Can you give us some idea of the extent of the damage in your community right now?
Well, I think your reporter covered it, that we have extensive damage on some of the homes on the west side of town. A lot of trees down, a lot of branches, siding off, fences down. We're going to be working to help with the cleanup of that, get some dumpsters down so neighbors in the area can get rid of all the debris as quickly as possible, open up the streets, which are littered with trash, too.
Mayor Kemp, there in Hills, it's remarkable when we see the images of the damage that we're not hearing reports of injuries. We're not having fatalities, at least at this juncture. What do you attribute that to, if you can, in preparing for the storm?
Well, I think people are well aware of what was going on today and what was going to happen today, so I think people were semi-prepared. This came up very quickly and didn't last very long, but I think people were ready to take shelter as soon as the winds picked up, but we're certainly on alert anyway. The news and you guys and people providing us with updates of where the storm was heading, even though it came upon us very quickly.
Mayor Kemp, we're looking at some of the video of one of the neighborhoods that's badly hit, and you're seeing residents picking up the pieces of what was left behind. What's your concerns? We're heading into the nightfall. So often you're a little worried about people taking advantage of some of these people. What will you be doing as far as police force and protection is when it starts getting darker?
Well, we have opened up our emergency center so people could stay at the community center if they needed to. Red Cross is on their way down here to help with anything that they can help out with. And we certainly have the presence of the Sheriff's Department from Johnson County that is our law enforcement. And they've been heavily in the area now, and I'm sure will continue to be throughout the
Mayor Kemp, for people who are not familiar with the emergency center that you mentioned, you're standing up a shelter for people to head to in the community if they don't have a safe place to stay tonight. Where exactly is that emergency center in your community?
It's our community center, downtown Main Street. We had it converted so that it can handle emergencies just like this if needed. I think, though, that most of the homes that we saw were still full, and so people will hopefully be able to stay in their homes tonight. Those who aren't certainly know we're available, but they probably also have friends and neighbors that can help them out, too. So we're hoping the need won't be great.
Mayor, you were in the city as the storm was hitting. Can you give me your impression of what happened? I mean, did you get enough of an alert? Did the storm actually catch you by surprise, or do you think most of the people in your city were pretty well prepared?
I think people were pretty much prepared. I think, again, we knew what was coming on, and we know in Iowa anything can happen. I think it came up quickly. We didn't have, a lot of warning, and it was over so quickly, too. So hopefully everybody was already in their basements or in a secure place by the time it hit, because as one of your reporters said, it lasted maybe 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes tops, and then it was over, gone, and relatively calm.
Mayor Kemp, has your community faced damage of the sort before? Tell me a little bit about what happened there on August 10th of 2020 with the derecho.
Well, we were on the southern end of that, and we had a lot of tree damage. But back in, I think it was 98, we had the straight line winds, which did do excessive damage to the community and houses and things like that. And so, again, living in Iowa, used to having that kind of thing be a weather concern, and so I think people take that seriously. And certainly, like I said, we had sirens going on and off throughout the afternoon and evening, so people were already on alerts and high alert, and hopefully nobody was caught off guard. We didn't have any serious injuries that I heard about, and so that's a blessing right there.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We may check in with you, of course, tomorrow and in the days ahead. So we appreciate your time, and we're still watching this live picture of one of your neighborhoods cleaning up, and we wish them well as well, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much.
I got to admit, I look back, I was in Iowa City after the tornado hit the downtown area in 2006 of Iowa City. And you sit there and you think about how much damage can happen in such a short period of time. And once again, Iowa City having to face that once again.
And it really, Iowa City, Hills, Coralville, Solon, we're seeing damage concentrated in Johnson County, but we don't want to think that if you're not in Johnson County, we're not paying attention and we're not mobilizing crews there. We are doing the best that we can with the resource that we have. We do have another reporter standing by live in Coralville, TV9's Libby Randall. Libby, I noticed when we talked to you earlier, there's railroad tracks behind you. I believe those there are the IAIS, the Iowa Interstate Railroad, and that is an active railroad that is obviously not accessible right now.
That's absolutely right, Beth. As we got closer to town, we noticed that there was a huge stretch along Highway 6 that was closed off. And as we got closer, we noticed why. Not only is the power out along a generous portion of Highway 6, but as you may be able to see behind me, there are power poles and power lines down, and they go across the railroad. So those are completely cut off. I'm going to step out of the way to give you a little bit of a better view as to what the scenario is here, again, in Coralville along Highway 6. There's a lot of Iowa Department of Transportation vehicles around here. I've seen Mid-American vehicles, and I've also seen law enforcement vehicles stationed up, again, along this stretch of Highway 6. They are redirecting traffic because, of course, as with power being out, so are the traffic lights. The traffic is being directed behind a stretch of hotels along Highway 6. We are, for reference, in front of Comfort Suites. Now, we didn't get the chance to talk to anybody that are currently staying in any of these hotels right now, but again, like I said, we are in front of Comfort Suites. I can tell that the power is out here as well. I am assuming there's a crowd gathered. There was a crowd gathered in front. I'm assuming they are people that are staying there right now, hoping just to get out of that space for a little bit. But as we continue to see traffic being redirected, we also see several other businesses that were hit, and the debris that is a result in so many places across Johnson County and other parts of our viewing area. We talked to some people that live about, they said 2.5–3 miles north of where I'm standing right now. They said they saw debris that they believe came from this area. That's 3 miles down the road. And like the mayor from Hills said, this only lasted about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes for some places, but that's how far that debris was able to go. We will continue to keep you updated from here in Coralville, but for now, live in Coralville, Libby Randall, KCRG-TV 9 News.
Okay, our thanks to Libby, and once again in Johnson County, the latest report, and it is increasing repeatedly. It's about 5,000 customers are without power. We do know that utility crews were ramping up for this to restore power, but get this, if you look at the numbers, more than half of Delaware County customers have no power. A third in Keokuk County, a third in Van Buren County without power, a third in Cedar County with 2,800 customers without power, about 5,600 in Lynn County. So when we're talking about the damage, we're also talking about the damage of that infrastructure as well, and that is widespread. So we do know the crews are going to be out there, but for some people they may have to be patient and wait for that power to be restored. We're kind of used to that.
We are. 10 days in the derecho of 2020, and I hope yours is 10 minutes max, if even that. If you have video or pictures you want to share with us, and you can do so safely, the best way is through our website at the very top on the YouTube section. We are not going home. We are not done with reporting on this story, even before the 10 p.m. newscast. I know you want to watch the Hawkeye women, but we're going to be at the top of the hour bringing you continuous updates as we check out the damage from around the area and keep checking to make sure there are no injuries and no fatalities from today's storms.
Thank you so much for joining us for our extended coverage of this storm as it swept through eastern Iowa. We've got you covered also on KCRG.com.
Severe weather on KCRG-TV 9, sponsored by AmeriClean.
Thank you for staying with TV 9 following that strong line of storms that spawned hail, powerful winds, and multiple tornadoes through eastern Iowa.
Yeah, and those tornadoes really did hit a large area, so we wanted to quickly give you an update on the situation this evening. It'll just take a few moments. We want to help people who are trying to find some shelter right now. The Delaware County Emergency Coordinator has now said that there is now a shelter in place for anyone who needs it. This is Delaware County. It's located at the fairgrounds there, at the Fairgrounds Community Center.
They're in Manchester in Delaware County on the south side of the city, and other areas really saw quite a bit of damage. We don't have it confirmed at this juncture, but they believe this was caused by a tornado. We got these viewer submitted pictures that show us some of that damage right outside of Manchester. You can see some outbuildings that were hurt, that were damaged, including some garages. And Greeley and Oneida, we understand, also took on damage. Now, no one was hurt in this region. Crews are also looking to quickly restore power as fast as they can.
We want to take you to Johnson County and Hills in particular. There is a shelter in place for Hills in Johnson County. This one's at the community center downtown. The Red Cross is coming to the community tonight. You're taking a look at some of the damage. You'll see it. It's a housing area subdivision. You can see the rainbow in the background was damaged. It's coming up in just a few moments. And this is by that Casey's in town, and it was kind of an area that really was targeted by this twister, and you can see it right here. It's just a small area that was hit according to this video, but we've seen neighborhoods trying to clean up in Hills. Now, there were many areas hit hard in parts of eastern Iowa. This is as it was happening in Solon downtown. The storm ripping through within seconds, and you can see part of a roof that was torn off in Solon at the height of this storm.
Take a look at some new damage reports that we're getting out of Coralville. You can see trees damaged, debris piling up, even vehicles pushed onto their sides. This particular video is from the Coralville Strip and Highway 6, and you can hear the sirens in the background of this video. Another area that was hit that is just south of the Coral Ridge Mall is an area on Boston Way, and we do have a crew in Coralville getting us up-to-date information there. Now, that tornado also caused damage in the community of Keota, and we're taking a look here at as that tornado.
Look at the size of that tornado.
And listen, you
yeah,
can just hear it pulling toward the community. Viewers reached out to us who told us they live in that area of Keota. Their homes were damaged. Highway 92 there was also closed for a period because of debris on the roadway. And they're, you know, you can see why. Lots of power outages in that region as well.
And take a look at this video as a tornado approached Wellman. This is another community. This is so close to these people's house. They said it was about 3 miles away. You can see this tornado spinning in the distance. A large tornado on the ground. We've taken reports of damage in the southwest part of that community. Homes destroyed. We're also told also that a farm has been badly hit as well. We do know that a roof was ripped off entirely from a home. Now, as Beth was mentioning earlier, is that we are seeing the sun starting to set and there are power outages throughout this area. In fact, I'm looking at the latest right now, and in Delaware County, it's more than half of the people reporting their power is out. Almost half in Van Buren County also have their power out. In Cedar County, about a third of the people have their power out, and there are 5,700 customers in Lynn, 3,400 in Johnson County with no power right now. Now, our meteorologists are on the air. Oh boy, almost 4 hours, 3.5 hours today, following a number of these storm reports, these damaging tornadoes throughout eastern Iowa. So we are going to update you once again at 9 o'clock tonight.
We are hearing out of the community in Jackson County in Bellevue. There's a possibility that there have been some injuries. Up until this point, we had not heard any official reports of injuries, and this is not official yet, but we are getting some information to tell us that perhaps people were hurt and have been treated at a hospital. So we'll have the latest on that. You can see more on the TV9 News at 10. We touch base, of course, with our reporters out in the field, and all of this information we also have through our social media channels and, of course, our website, KCRG.com.
From your trusted local news source with your first alert forecast, KCRG-TV 9 News at 10 starts now.
Tonight, people are looking to recover after several tornadoes struck eastern Iowa. We have First Alert Storm Team coverage, but first, take a look at this. You are looking at video from our Solon City Cam as it captured live pictures of what appears to be a tornado ripping through the city. And tonight, residents in Solon aren't the only ones picking up the pieces.
Delaware County opened a shelter earlier tonight. It was open for a few hours due to the storm damage in Manchester for people to seek refuge. There's also a shelter open in the community of Hills. It's at the community center south of Iowa City, again because of storm damage. The storms devastated people's homes and businesses there in Hills. And this is video as a tornado approached Wellman. You can see it spinning off in the distance as large tornadoes on the ground there. We've taken reports from viewers of damage southwest of Wellman where homes were destroyed.
Seeing it over and over again, and more than 26,000 people across the state of Iowa right now have no power. The vast majority of those are in eastern Iowa, Grundy, Delaware, Van Buren counties having the most outages compared to other nearby counties after this storm. Now, Johnson County's emergency management says it is responding to the damage caused by all these tornadoes today.
And we're starting our coverage in Johnson County in the community of Solon, where KCRG-TV9's Becky Phelps joins us live. Becky?
Thankfully, no one was injured when this tree behind me fell and hit a home during today's storms in Solon. The family who lives in this home tells me they were in the cellar during all of the storms and couldn't tell what had happened until they came up and looked around. Now this tree was ripped up by its roots and fell into the side of the house here, hitting into the garage and kind of cutting through the side of the house here. You can see the view from inside. Earlier today, branches just hanging into the garage, insulation everywhere, covering the floor, the cars in the driveway. The storm also sucked the garage door off of the house, leaving it sitting in the front yard. Everyone I've talked to today in Solon says the storm felt like it moved through quickly. I talked with one woman who rode out the storm with her father in his basement before coming home and seeing what her neighborhood looked like.
After the storm was over, I went to walk home and I saw a big pile of cedar trees, and I was like, well, those must have come off of the other neighbor's tree. And lo and behold, I get to my house and I find out that it had just fallen behind my bus and did not hit the bus, but they were actually my trees that the limbs had been pulled.
In downtown Solon, two businesses, a hardware store and a Mexican restaurant, had significant damage to their roofs, with parts literally flying away. Those businesses are blocked off by caution tape tonight. Part of the debris landed behind the businesses, and the work to clean all of that damage up got started very quickly. City crews and first responders were all across Solon today working very hard to help people identify the damage and clean up tree debris off of roads and sidewalks. Everyone we talked to said they were very grateful to live here in this community with that support. Live in Solon, Becky Phelps, KCRG-TV9 News.
And this is drone video from Tipton in Cedar County. You can see some damage to homes and trees in this particular neighborhood. Some homes even had part of their roofs that were torn off. The good news is that time and time we have not heard of any serious injuries, and that's a key part to this story.
Yeah, and no fatalities. Given how many tornadoes were pushing through eastern Iowa one time, we know that can happen. So in the community of Hills, an emergency shelter has been set up for families who have nowhere else to go. That's where we find KCRG-TV 9's Brian Tabak reporting for us live. Brian?
Yeah, Beth, not a lot of families utilizing the community center, though. The mayor does tell me there are a couple dozen people whose homes are uninhabitable tonight. In the town of Hills, just off Old 218, families are in cleanup mode after the storm left debris thrown across yards, insulation covering lawns, and twisted metal siding thrown across structures.
It's heartbreaking, but stuff's replaceable and everybody's healthy, and so that's what's great.
Kyle Schneider was at his father's house when the storm rolled through. This is what he came home to. A wall torn from the side of his house.
Oh, you can't live in that thing. The structure's not stable underneath that house, so.
Schneider's home is too damaged to live in tonight. His plan is to take his family to his father's. Others walk the block looking for irreplaceable memories.
There's so much of pictures of families and all their belongings.
They're our friends. Some of them are her grandson, and some from her in high school. So they're pretty important.
The damage from this storm is fresh in the minds of those like Schneider who live here, but they're just thankful for friends and family ready to help a lending hand in his family's time of need.
When you see your house damaged and stuff, and they're the first ones there when you call.
The mayor of Hills tells me that he has requested some extra Johnson County Sheriff's deputies to kind of watch over that area just off that old 218 cleanup. That starts tomorrow. The mayor tells me that they've requested dumpsters and dump trucks. They're still working on a plan of where they're going to put those at this time. Live in Hills, Brian Tabak, KCRG TV 9 News.
All right, thank you, Brian. Delaware County Emergency Management opened a shelter for a few hours this evening due to storm damage. It is now closed, though. Emergency Management says a suspected tornado caused extensive damage throughout Manchester. Ken Gracie sent us these photos after waiting out the storm at a gas station in Manchester, and he says winds threw barns into ditches and destroyed sheds and power poles.
Well, you can hear them just snapping. It just sounded like a twig, just like if you took a twig and just snapped it across your hand. It was snap, snap, snap. And next thing you know, all those power lines just went down.
He says he saw power poles down for more than a quarter of a mile. Delaware County Emergency Management saying as of this time, there are no reported injuries there. Our first alert weather coverage continues in Coralville tonight. Many businesses, hotels, and homes along Highway 6 are still without power right now.
Yeah, right there on the Coralville Strip. KCRG-TV 9's Libby Randall continues our live team coverage. She shares more from two business owners who were just yards away from the most severe damage.
Along Highway 6 in Coralville, many businesses like the ones behind me are seemingly untouched. But if you take several steps in the opposite direction, you can see how much damage this storm really did. A tornado split this group of businesses along Highway 6 in half as it made its way through Coralville. Debris from some of those places are strung out across the street. Power lines and power poles cover the train tracks that run alongside US 6. The owners of Miro, Martial Arts, and Accurate Home Inspections, both located in that same building, are beyond relieved, as the only thing they lost was power.
I just closed on the business on Monday, and so I just bought it. So, yeah, I mean, I've been here 15 years, and it's just like I'm looking at the devastation of other businesses, and I'm feeling like really, really blessed.
I wasn't sure what to expect with that tornado that touched down. I thought maybe it was going to be a lot more disastrous than what it is right now. I do feel for this side of the building, though, the owners over here, though, with the damage they have.
Several of those business owners tell us the Iowa Department of Transportation, Coralville Law Enforcement, and Mid-American Energy crews are working to bring back power as early as Saturday morning. In Coralville, Libby Randall, KCRG-TV 9 News.
And just about an hour ago, a shelter opened in Coralville. The Red Cross is operating that shelter at the Coralville Recreation Center. That's on 8th Street. And there will be cots, blankets, as well as food for anyone who needs it from the storm. And once those storms passed, it was almost eerily calm. We even saw rainbows and blue skies in some areas.
And it was absolutely amazing how quickly those storms did pass through. I mean, you saw the video in Seoul, and it was like, what, 90 seconds of intensity.
If that. Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, they did move on quickly between about 2 and 7. That's about what you were expecting from the western edge of the viewing area to the eastern. Now they're long gone. Let's look at a review of what happened this afternoon on pinpoint Doppler radar. See, starting at about 1 o'clock as it loops back. Storms developed in south central Iowa, spread to the northeast. That was the first wave, and a second wave developed on its backside, pushing to the northeast from there. They continue to push east now. In fact, the front and its associated storms in central Indiana. That one storm that passed from near Ottumwa up through Johnson County into southeastern Lynn and western Jones County, that's the one that produced the most serious tornadoes we saw all day. In fact, here's a radar representation of where the rotation passed. So that's a generic path of where what may have very well been one tornado for a good portion of it before lifting and probably producing a couple more before that storm started to get absorbed into the greater line. So it was a pretty active afternoon. In fact, as you see all those tornado reports associated with that storm stretching from Wapello County up into northern Washington County. Other reports in Poweshiek County, and plenty of reports across all of the state of Iowa. At least 178 at latest count, and we will still add some more to this. Good news is now is that things have quieted down, at least in terms of the weather and precipitation and storm activity. Winds are still very strong, gusting out of the west between 31 miles per hour and Dubuque, 14 miles per hour in Washington. We're going to keep those strong westerly winds around for at least a little bit longer. Temperatures tonight will be dipping into the low to mid 30s. You can scratch those scattered storms for the zone cast, though. Instead, we have the potential for scattered snow showers. We'll take a look at who's most in line to see some snow overnight coming up in a bit.
Well, as you've seen, there's been plenty of activity going on here through the afternoon. Let's take a look at more of some of those damage photos that you guys have sent in. Thank you for sending those in on our U News channel there. Again, some storm damage in Manchester. We've seen that picture, several of pictures coming in from the Manchester area for us here as we've gone through the afternoon with that cell up there. Also, wind damage coming in. Julia sent in this picture near the Wellsburg area. Probably not associated with any tornadic activity, but just wind damage in that grain bin being blown over and kind of collapsing in on itself near the Martinsburg area. This kind of as that storm was just getting going, you can see that hog confinement, substantial damage to that. That picture sent in by Lori. Trevor sent in this picture from the Wellman area. Again, a lot of damage in the Wellman area. Those trees, those cars kind of crumpled up. A classic signature there that we'd see. That tornado video coming in near Wellman as well from Richard. Again, very powerful storm. And another tornado video coming in near Kyoto where you can see both of those tornadoes moving through the area. Tipton as well, seeing a lot of damage. Remember, you can still send in your pictures to us on kcrg.com/unews.
Jan, thanks so much. And parts of Arkansas saw storms earlier than Iowa did today. This is a look, a video at a pretty substantial tornado in Little Rock that killed 3 people and hurt dozens others. The National Weather Service called it catastrophic and had to send its own North Little Rock staff into a tornado shelter.
Everything happened in like 5 seconds. It was like it came, boom. It was you hear a lot of commotion and stuff, then it was just over.
A man describing in Little Rock what happened today with that storm. This is damage from the tornado. You can see debris scattered and buildings heavily damaged in this video. The tornado even ripped off the roofs of some businesses.
Also tonight, right now, the Iowa women are going head-to-head with South Carolina in their Final Four matchup for the NCAA tournament. Tip-off is at 8:50 tonight, and the score right now, 59-55. Good guys, right? KCRG-TV 9 Scott Zabel and Jack Leto are in Dallas tonight with more on the big matchup, guys.
Welcome to Dallas, and what a game so far. The Hawkeyes giving the #1 team in the country all they can handle. They got off to a great start, Jack.
Yeah, they did, and as a Hawkeye fan, if you're a Hawkeye fan, you got to be really nervous. Look, it's great that the Hawkeyes got off to a great start. They played their game on offense. That means pick and roll with Caitlin Clark and Monica Zanano. Been great passing, great shooting. The problem for Iowa is on the defensive end, they're just giving up too many offensive rebounds.
It's rebounding. That's going to continue to be a problem, so they're probably going to have to outscore them. It worked, the layup drill, and it was a layup drill for Caitlin Clark in the first half, but I think they're going to adjust their defense, and she's going to have to hit some more threes, and other players for Iowa are going to have to hit from the outside.
It's going to be huge to draw up those plays to get those open shooters shots. For my money, Dawn Staley is the best coach in college basketball. Lisa Bluter is right up there with her. If Lisa Bluter can draw up a game plan to get the Hawks in front, get them open shooters, I think she might take that crown. It's going to be a great ending.
And how about the crowd support? A lot of Iowa fans.
A lot of Iowa fans.
Huddle, and
exactly.
Awesome.
We've seen them all week. They've been incredible. If the Iowa Hawkeyes win the game, it's going to be largely thanks to the home-like crowd that they've gotten.
All right, let's hope for a big second half from Iowa. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much. Well, coming up, President Donald Trump says he will be turning himself into authorities to make his first court appearance, as he reportedly now faces dozens of criminal charges.
The severe weather we saw earlier today now pushing into Indiana and Ohio. Blizzard warnings off to the northwest side of this large storm system as it exits. We'll show you when the snow can move through eastern Iowa. Coming up in your first alert forecast. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV 9.
First Alert means warning you days before the storm.
Friday is the day to watch for the potential for some strong to severe weather.
Then tracking it live on our CityCam network until the threat is gone.
See it as it was.
That looked like a roof.
That was a roof that flew off.
Got
This is
lifted off.
tornado moving through the area.
Downtown Solon.
Main Street.
If you are in Solon, get to your basement now.
Until the threat is gone. Trust your First Alert storm team to be there only on KCRG-TV 9.
Orlando is lurking, ready to protect what's theirs.
Lynch flushed, directing traffic, touchdown!
Because in this wild,
Guardians strike back. It's survival of the fittest.
welcome to their jungle.
This is your team. Experience more football. Experience the XFL.
Be there. Tickets on sale now at xfl.com/tickets.
We now know former President Donald Trump will make his first court appearance in connection to a hush money investigation next week. This comes after a New York grand jury voted to indict the former president yesterday.
It makes former President Trump the first ex-president in U.S. history to face criminal charges. The Manhattan DA's office launched an investigation after investigators say that Trump paid to keep adult film actress Stormy Daniels quiet about their alleged relationship.
This is unprecedented in this country's history. I don't know what to expect other than an arraignment.
Trump's attorney saying Trump and his whole legal team were caught off guard by the announcement. That's despite the former president falsely predicting his own arrest in the case last week. He says Trump plans to plead not guilty and will aggressively fight the charges. The indictment is under seal, but sources tell ABC News he faces about 24 counts, including felonies. Former Vice President Mike Pence is putting a new emphasis on his years in politics before he served as Donald Trump's vice president. It comes as he approaches a likely 2024 run for president. Pence served 12 years in Congress, 4 years as Indiana governor. He also reacted to Trump's indictment, calling it political prosecution.
Now, your first alert forecast with meteorologist Corey Thompson.
This video was from today's storms, which produced several tornadoes, including this near Keota. This is a video of it as it was approaching the town. You can see folks watching from a distance. Viewers reached out to us saying that there were homes damaged in the area. The Iowa DOT even showed that Iowa Highway 92 in the area was closed due to debris blocking the roadway. That's all part of that one storm that produced a long-tracked tornado this afternoon, across a good portion of the area as it lifted to the northeast. Fortunately, though, in eastern Iowa, we are currently dry. Most of the state showing not much in the way of precipitation, but notice how the precipitation is still swirling around an area of low pressure. Snow showers back into Nebraska, widespread moderate to heavy snow in Minnesota and Wisconsin as the storm moves away. Again, right now, though, it's quiet. Temperatures are continuing to fall from the very lofty highs they reached today. Upper 30s to low 40s at this hour. Winds out of the west generally between about 15 to 30 miles per hour, with some higher gusts. For that reason, a wind advisory is in effect for the area shaded in this tan color. Most of areas south of Highway 20 goes until about midday tomorrow, when that will be allowed to expire. So there's the chance for a little bit of light snow activity tonight. Snow showers possible across parts of the area. Then the wind just sticks around. We're likely to see it through a good portion of the afternoon tomorrow as well. Talking about snow, we could see a little bit that sticks in the far northwestern counties, where winter weather advisory, believe it or not, is in effect, stretching across Charles City and Decorah. The amounts will be light, but with the wind that we have and the snow that could fall, visibility really could be reduced. So I think that's why the Weather Service went with that advisory, just to emphasize that just a bit. So by 1 o'clock, notice how snow is starting to edge into that far northwestern portion of the area. 3 o'clock, spreading a little bit further to the south and east, and then continuing in a scattered fashion through about 7 or 8. After that, we should start to see drier weather, but still cooler, still windy as we start off the weekend, even though the sun will likely reappear by the afternoon as that activity pushes to the east. In terms of snowfall accumulation, it will be limited, as mentioned. There could be a bit of a very light dusting across the southeastern portion of the viewing area. It's to the northwest, where a slightly heavier amount, up to an inch, could be seen. But it's the slick roadways that could come from that and the windy conditions that we have in place that could cause some hazardous driving very early on Saturday. But again, temperatures will warm up after we fall toward the upper 20s and low 30s overnight, with 28 in Charles City, 34 in Washington. We will be back into the 40s and 50s for most of us tomorrow. The coldest up in the north, closer to that area of low pressure, with 42 in Fayette, 49 in Washington. With partly cloudy skies, but the winds certainly taking a little bit off of those warmer temperatures. As we head toward next week, a storm system starts to develop off the Rockies and into the plains. Notice this area of low pressure develops and takes a somewhat familiar path. It's going to move to the northeast, strengthen as it does, and then enter northwest Iowa. If that sounds a little bit familiar, it looks a little bit like what took place today. Now, the storm system does look a little bit different in terms of its overall structure and dynamics. But that being said, the Storm Prediction Center already does have a good portion of the state included in an area for a risk of severe weather. We'll be watching that one very, very closely as it gets closer. Wind conditions could stick with us Saturday and Sunday, wrapping up the weekend as temperatures warm into the mid-60s again after a cooler day on Saturday. We'll stay in the 50s and 60s for the rest of the 9-day forecast as things turn quieter after early next week.
And we did just get an update from the emergency management team there in Johnson County. We now know that 2 people were hurt in Johnson County. Still no fatalities, thankfully. And the emergency management does believe 2 or 3 tornadoes touched down there in Johnson County.
That sounds right. I think we'll just have to wait and see how many total. Could be between about 6 to 10 total. Hard to say, but we'll be finding out over the weekend.
All right, Corey, thanks.
Yeah.
Another story that's developing is actually sports. We want to take another look at how the Iowa women are doing in their Final Four matchup against South Carolina. And we can tell you right now that, yeah, 67-64 Hawkeyes so far. Good news. We'll keep an eye on it, so stay with us.
Orlando is lurking, ready to protect what's theirs.
Lynch flushed, directing traffic, touchdown!
Because in this wild,
Guardians strike back!
It's survival of the fittest.
welcome to their jungle.
This is your team. Experience more football. Experience the XFL.
Be there. Tickets on sale now at xfl.com/tickets.
Today, the Iowa Supreme Court denied the appeal of the man who is convicted of killing Michelle Martinko. Martinko was found dead in her car in a mall parking lot with a number of stab wounds back in 1979. You may remember the case. Jerry Burns is serving life in prison for stabbing and killing the 18-year-old. She was last seen at Westdale Mall in Cedar Rapids, where she was shopping for a coat before investigators found her body. Now, the case went unsolved for nearly 40 years, but investigators were able to connect Burns to the case later through DNA evidence in 2018. Now, they got that evidence from a straw that Burns used at a Pizza Ranch restaurant. Burns argued that police violated his constitutional rights when they took that straw. The justices voted 5-2, with the majority saying police did follow the law. We want to remind you that when you do see news or know of news happening, give us a call on Newsline 9. The number is 319-365-9999. You can also send us news tips, pictures, and videos to newsroom@kcrg.com.
We have now passed the second funnel deadline for the Iowa legislature, and several controversial bills are advancing. Now, to make it through, a bill has to pass in either the Senate or the House, and then a committee in the opposite chamber to survive. Among those safe bills, the governor's parental rights bill. This bill would ban any explicit visual or written depictions in any instructional materials, including in library books. Democrats say this would ban Shakespeare. The bill would also ban teaching about gender identity in grades K through 6. Another bill would give harsher punishments for anyone dealing or selling the drug fentanyl. And another bill that survived, the texting and driving one. This would require drivers to use only phones in voice-activated or hands-free modes while driving. Also still alive, a bill that would relax Iowa's child labor laws, expanding which jobs younger teenagers can work and allowing them to work longer, later hours.
All right, want another update, don't you? Iowa women in the Final Four right now. The Hawkeyes leading 69-65. There's about 4.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Stay tuned to your local news source, KCRG-TV 9.
Orlando is lurking, ready to protect what's theirs.
Lynch flushed, directing traffic. Touchdown!
Because in this wild,
Guardians strike back.
It's survival of the fittest.
welcome to their jungle.
This is your team. Experience more football. Experience the XFL.
Be there. Tickets on sale now at xfl.com/tickets.
Come now for exclusive savings to start airbrushing and get free shipping. Don't wait.
Monday night and Tuesday Leonard was all right, but Wednesday. Orlando is lurking, ready to protect what's theirs.
Lynch flushed, directing traffic. Touchdown!
Because in this wild,
Guardians strike back.
It's survival of the fittest.
welcome to their jungle.
This is your team. Experience more football. Experience the XFL.
Be there. Tickets on sale now at xfl.com/tickets.
We are looking at a fairly chilly start to the day on Saturday. There could be even a few snow flurries or light snow showers still by the time you get up. Temperatures will begin in the 30s. We'll be back to the upper 40s, maybe even to low 50s by the afternoon. Maybe some mid to upper 60s by Sunday on a windy day. We are looking for the chance for some more showers and storms, though, as we head toward Monday and Tuesday. Some of those on Tuesday could be strong again. We'll provide updates on that storm system throughout the weekend.
We're seeing a much quieter Vinton City camera right now.
Happy to see it.
Yes, we are.
Thanks for joining us tonight at 10.
And we hope you have a safe, calm weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
From your trusted local news source with your first alert forecast, KCRG-TV 9 Weekend Morning News starts now.
Severe weather ripped through eastern Iowa Friday night. We've got team coverage from last night, and people in places like Solon now looking at recovery efforts. And storm damage in Hills left many without a home. Officials there are setting up a temporary shelter for those in need. Plus, Coralville also seeing damages from the storms. Many homes and businesses torn apart and left without power. Good morning. It is 6 o'clock on April 1st. We've got a live look at our Solon City Cam. Things a little quieter now than they were even just 12 hours ago. Yesterday, all of the TV9 viewing area experienced some storms, some of which produced several tornadoes, including in Keota. This is video of a tornado as it was approaching the town. Viewers reached out to us saying there were homes damaged. The Iowa DOT even showed Iowa Highway 92 in that area was closed for a time due to debris in the roadway. So, Hannah, are we going to be seeing a little bit more calmer weather today?
We will see some calmer weather, but first let's take another look at that video from Keota. This is another video from Jerica Morgan. This is of that same tornado. So there are actually two, we call them twin tornadoes. It's pretty rare to see that. So we really had some incredible storms last night. This is what it looks like in Coralville. It's misty out this morning. We've got some raindrops on the lens with temperatures in the 30s, 32 in Dubuque, 34 in Cedar Rapids, and 36 in Coralville, with winds mainly coming out of the west, kind of high this morning, 20 miles per hour in Dubuque and 23 miles per hour in Coralville. Also waking up to some snowflakes in spots, some misty conditions, rain and snowflakes, but we're not really seeing much in terms of that snow. It's going to be pretty light this morning and exit pretty quickly. Therefore, in our 9 to 9 planner today, we'll actually see some sunshine, colder than yesterday. Highs in the mid to upper 40s in the afternoon with winds out of the northwest, 20 to 40 plus. Now, I know this is not what people want to hear, but we've got more chances for some storms in the upcoming work week. I'll let you know all about it coming up.
All right, Hannah, thanks. Well, people are now looking to recover after several tornadoes struck eastern Iowa yesterday, as we were talking about. We'll have first alert storm team coverage, but first take a look at this. You're watching video from our Solon City Cam as it captured live pictures of what appears to be a tornado ripping through the city. And residents in Solon aren't the only ones picking up the pieces. In Delaware County, officials opened a shelter for a few hours due to storm damage in Manchester. And a shelter also opened in Hills Community Center south of Iowa City due to storm damage. The storms devastated people's homes and businesses. And take a look at this video as a tornado approached Wellman. You can see it spinning in the distance. As large tornadoes on the ground, we've taken reports from viewers of damages southwest of Wellman, with homes destroyed there as well. Johnson County's emergency management says it responded to the damage caused by several tornadoes last night. We start our coverage this morning in that region in Solon. Thankfully, no one was injured when this tree fell and landed on this home during last night's storms. The family who lives here told the TV9 crew they were in a cellar when it happened and couldn't tell what had happened until they came outside to look around. The storm pulled a tree out by its roots and landed on the side of the building, mostly cutting right into the garage. You can see the view from inside earlier in the day, branches just hanging on into the garage and leaving insulation everywhere. The storm also sucked the garage door off, landing in the front yard. People in the area told TV9 the storm felt like they moved through very quickly. One woman says she rode out the storm in Solon with her father in his basement before coming home and seeing what her neighborhood looked like.
After the storm was over, I went to walk home and I saw a big pile of cedar trees, and I was like, well, those must have come off of the other neighbor's tree. And lo and behold, I get to my house and I find out that it had just fallen behind my bus and did not hit the bus, but they were actually my trees that the limbs had been pulled.
In downtown Solon, 2 businesses, a hardware store and a Mexican restaurant lost their roofs. A lot of that debris landed behind the businesses, and the work to clean up the damage got started very quickly in Solon. City workers and first responders worked hard and all across Solon to evaluate damage and help people start work to clean up a lot of that tree debris. And people told TV9 they were grateful to be in the community with all that help. And this is drone video from Tipton in Cedar County. You can see some damage to homes and trees in that neighborhood as well. Some homes even had parts of their roofs torn off. And while many of the storms moved quickly, of course, leaving behind all that destruction, now some families are without a place to live. In the town of Hills, an emergency shelter was set up for families who have nowhere to go. KCRG-TV 9's Brian Tabak brings us more, starting out our team coverage.
In the town of Hills, just off Old 218, families are in cleanup mode after the storm left debris thrown across yards, insulation covering lawns, and twisted metal siding thrown across structures.
It's heartbreaking, but stuff's replaceable and everybody's healthy, and so that's what's great.
Kyle Schneider was at his father's house when the storm rolled through. This is what he came home to. A wall torn from the side of his house.
Oh, you can't live in that thing. The structure's not stable underneath that house, so.
Schneider's home is too damaged to live in tonight. His plan is to take his family to his father's. Others walk the block looking for irreplaceable memories.
There's so much of pictures of families and all their belongings.
They're our friends. Some of them are her grandson, and some from her in high school. So they're pretty important.
The damage from this storm is fresh in the minds of those like Schneider who live here, but they're just thankful for friends and family ready to help a lending hand in his family's time of need.
When you see your house damaged and stuff, and they're the first ones there when you call.
That was Brian Tabak reporting. Delaware County Emergency Management opened a shelter for a few hours yesterday as well due to storm damage. It's now closed. Emergency Management says a suspected tornado caused extensive damage throughout Manchester. Ken Gracie sent us these photos after waiting out a storm in a gas station in Manchester. He says winds threw barns into dishes and destroyed sheds and power poles.
Well, you can hear them just snapping. It just sounds like a twig, just like if you took a twig and just snapped it across your nail, it was snap, snap, snap. And next thing you know, all those power lines just went down.
He says he saw power poles down for more than a quarter of a mile. Delaware County Emergency Management says as of this time, there are no reported injuries. And our first alert weather coverage continues in Coralville. Many businesses, hotels, and homes along Highway 6 had lost power. EMA says 2 people were hurt after the storms. No deaths in Johnson County. The emergency management believes 2 or 3 tornadoes moved through the county. KCRG-TV 9's Libby Randall continues our team coverage, and she shares more from 2 business owners who were just yards away from the most severe damage.
Along Highway 6 in Coralville, many businesses like the ones behind me are seemingly untouched. But if you take several steps in the opposite direction, you can see how much damage this storm really did. A tornado split this group of businesses along Highway 6 in half as it made its way through Coralville. Debris from some of those places are strung out across the street. Power lines and power poles cover the train tracks that run alongside US 6. The owners of Miro, Martial Arts, and Accurate Home Inspections, both located in that same building, are beyond relieved, as the only thing they lost was power.
I just closed on the business on Monday, and so I just bought it. So, yeah, I mean, I've been here 15 years, and it's just like I'm looking at the devastation of other businesses, and I'm feeling like really, really blessed.
I wasn't sure what to expect with that tornado that touched down. I thought maybe it was going to be a lot more disastrous than what it is right now. I do feel for this side of the building, though, the owners over here, though, with the damage they have.
Several of those business owners tell us the Iowa Department of Transportation, Coralville Law Enforcement, and Mid-American Energy crews are working to bring back power as early as Saturday morning. In Coralville, Libby Randall, KCRG-TV 9 News.
Thanks, Libby. A shelter also opened in Coralville. The Red Cross was operating that shelter at the Coralville Recreation Center on 8th Street. There were cots and food. Authorities in Bellevue say 3 people were taken to the hospital with injuries from debris and small cabins being flipped at Moon River Cabins in Riverview RV Park. They say many cabins, campers, and trees had been uprooted and thrown into the river. And in Illinois, emergency officials say at least one person is dead and more than 24 injured after a roof collapsed at a theater near Rockford. It happened during a possible tornado Friday night. Officials with the Apollo Theater say about 260 people were inside the venue at the time of the accident, including the audience, staff, and performers. The fire chief says 28 people have been transported to hospitals by ambulance, but more people may have been taken to hospitals in personal vehicles. Parts of Arkansas also saw storms even earlier than Iowa yesterday. This is video of a large tornado in Little Rock, Arkansas that killed 3 people and hurt dozens. The National Weather Service called it catastrophic and had to send its North Little Rock staff to a tornado shelter.
Everything happened in like 5 seconds. It was like it came, boom. It was you hear a lot of commotion and stuff, then it was just over.
That's how some people in Little Rock described the storm. This is some damage from the tornado. You can see debris scattered and buildings heavily damaged. The tornado even ripped off some of the roof of some businesses.
Storm reports from southeastern Iowa show that a tornado began in the Ottumwa area and moved through Keokuk and Washington counties. Thankfully, this afternoon's forecast looks a bit quieter. I'll let you know what we'll see this afternoon coming up. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV 9.
First Alert means warning you days before the storm.
Friday is the day to watch for the potential for some strong to severe weather.
Then tracking it live on our CityCam network until the threat is gone.
See it as it was.
That looked like a roof.
That was a roof that flew off.
Got
This is
lifted
a
off.
tornado moving through the area.
Downtown Solon.
Main Street.
If you are in Solon, get to your basement now.
Until the threat is gone. Trust your First Alert storm team to be there only on KCRG-TV 9.
Identical twins Bethany and Stephanie both struggled with CPAP for their sleep apnea. But Stephanie got Inspire, an implanted device that works inside the body. There's no reason to keep struggling.
Inspire. Learn more and view important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
I struggled with CPAP every night. But now that I got the Inspire implant, it's making me think of doing other things I've been putting off.
Like removing the tattoo of your first wife's name.
Inspire. Learn more and view important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
Good news. This just in. Your Ford dealers have fresh shipments of their award-winning SUV lineup in stock and ready for you to drive home today. Get your hands on a new Ford, the #1 brand in SUV.
I struggled with CPAP every night, but now that I got the Inspire implant, it's making me think of doing other things I've been putting off.
Like removing the tattoo of your first wife's name.
Inspire. Learn more and view important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
Now, your first alert forecast with meteorologist Hannah Massier.
Your first alert is a little bit calmer this morning. We do still have snow highlighted on it. That's because a few snow showers are possible, mainly this morning. Wind is the main story, though. Wind highlighted because we're going to see windy conditions this morning into the afternoon. Now, temperatures are in the 30s to start out our day. 34 in Cedar Rapids, 34 in Fayette, 32 in Dubuque, and 36 degrees right now in Iowa City. The snow that we're seeing on radar is extremely light. We have some snow by the Iowa City area, really misty by the Iowa City area. Some light snow showers possible by Dubuque and up in Decorah and Fayette, but not much in accumulation is expected, if any. Now a mostly cloudy sky by 9 a.m., turning to a partly cloudy sky at noon with winds coming out of the north. Then headed into the afternoon, still nice and clear with winds coming out of the northwest. And then overnight tonight, pretty quiet. This is what we're thinking for wind gusts. We could have gusts in the 40s and 50s this morning, or close to 50. So it's really going to be windy out there, but winds dying down as we head into the later parts of the afternoon. Highs today will be in the 40s, 45 in Dubuque, 46 in Dyersville, and 45 degrees in Marquette. Headed to the northwest zone, also seeing the 40s, 45 in Waverly and 44 in Waterloo. The central zone, 47 today in Cedar Rapids, 49 in Vinton. And here's your south zone in the upper 40s and low 50s, 50 in Marengo, 48 in Iowa City, and 49 degrees in Riverside. We're also tracking yet another low pressure system for the upcoming work week. It's going to have a warm front associated with it, bringing in some chances for some showers and even some storms on Tuesday. Some of these storms could become strong to severe on Tuesday, so we'll want to keep another close eye on this low pressure system. In our long-term temperature outlook between April 8th and April 14th, colder than normal conditions across southern Iowa and northern Missouri. In our long-term precipitation outlook between April 8th and April 14th, drier than normal conditions in the forecast. Here's the next several days. Gradually warming Sunday, 66 degrees and windy, 60 on Monday with some showers possible. Then there's that chance for showers and storms on Tuesday with some becoming strong. And then Wednesday, we have lingering chances for showers and storms. Temperatures this week mainly in the 50s and 60s. Overnight temperatures mainly in the 30s and 40s. So I know that what people don't want to hear is that we've got more chances for showers and storms. However, this is kind of what happens when we get warmer temperatures. We get chances for storms.
Yeah, that's just about how this time of year goes too, and you always just want to be weather aware, have your weather first alert app, weather radios, things like that.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Anna. Well, still to come, Iowa is headed to the NCAA championship after taking down the undefeated South Carolina in the Final Four. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV 9. It's 6:18.
Now, your First Alert forecast with meteorologist Hannah Messier.
It was an active night last night. This is a picture from near Wellman. Our viewer Trevor Nicholson sent this photo in. We can see damage from trees. It looks like cars as well in that photo. Right now in Guttenberg, though, it's a pretty quiet but gray and misty morning. Also pretty windy. Winds coming mainly out of the west up to 25 miles per hour with gusts even higher. Temperatures are in the 30s. Here's our live pinpoint Doppler radar where we actually have some snow showers on it this morning. Just some light snow showers and flurries. Not expecting this to really cause much in terms of impacts. In our dogs and donuts forecast, we have Bruiser. It'll be a really nice afternoon to maybe go on a walk with your dog. Not as warm as yesterday. We're going to have highs in the mid to upper 40s.
Definitely crazy how much weather can change just within 12 hours.
Yeah, that's really the case. But we do have more chances for showers and storms in the forecast for the upcoming week. I'll talk all about that coming up.
All right, Hannah, thanks. Well, the Iowa women's basketball team will play for a national championship following their 77-73 victory over South Carolina. The Hawkeyes snapped the Gamecocks' 42-game winning streak. Our KCRG-TV 9 sports team, Scott Sable, Chelsea Brown, and Jack Lito brings us more from Dallas.
Good morning from Dallas. The Iowa Hawkeyes shocked the world last night. I'm Scott Sable along with Jack Lito and Chelsea Brown, and this was a tall task, Chelsea, because they were huge inside, but Iowa found a way. Some great game planning.
You bet. Iowa was out-rebounded. They were outworked in the paint, but they still prevailed. And South Carolina actually led the country in rebounding, but probably missed one of the most crucial rebounds of the game.
I understand South Carolina got 25 O boards, but there was one O board that really mattered the most, and it was McKenna Warnock's.
We always want to get those O boards, and I'm glad that I could come up with that one. It kind of fell into my lap, and that's kind of what we wanted in those moments anyways. We wanted some of those to kind of bounce our way tonight, and I'm glad it did at that moment.
We took some chances off of some people who, you know, might not be the best three-point shooters statistically, so we kind of packed in the paint as much as we could. You know, maybe put two people on a box out. Obviously, they got some boards, and we knew that was going to happen, but we took chances, and we just had to rebound the heck out of the ball.
We knew South Carolina was going to come with their defense, but Iowa obviously leads the country in scoring offense, and they displayed that tonight.
Yeah, and Caitlin Clark, another 41-point game, Jack. Every time Iowa needed a big basket, she got it done.
It's just amazing. It's astonishing. It's jaw-dropping. You could spend hours looking through the dictionary trying to figure out a word to accurately describe the superhuman run Caitlin Clark is having. And I'm sure you probably couldn't do it.
The biggest thing is, you know, knowing how much my teammates trust me. You know, I was given the ball and, you know, kind of the biggest moments of the game on the biggest stage. But also at the same time, you know, my teammates really came through and played huge minutes.
I mean, she's the best player in the nation, best player in the country. You know, I'm super glad that she's on this team, and the things that she does for this team, you know, on and off the court is truly remarkable.
It's so fun to play with her, honestly. Getting to watch that every single day, getting to be a part of it, you can't make it up. It's one of the coolest things I'll ever do in my life, so I love it.
41 points, it grabs the headlines, but Caitlin Clark is also the best passer in the nation, and that pick and roll she ran with Monica Sanana was a work of art.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to the coaching staff again. I mean, they wrote on the chalkboard, "Shock the world." They also made some pretty cool T-shirts, didn't they?
Yeah, they said, why not us?
Yes, we were saying it the whole time. Even my couple girls on the bench that I sit next to, the whole time we were just saying, we're going to win this, we're going to win this. She believes in us through and through, always, and that's really encouraging for all of us. I mean, it means the world. I'm so happy to do that with Coach Bluter and all these girls, and, you know, this was our goal. We didn't just get to the Final Four just to get here. You know, we said we wanted to win 2 more games, and so we're going to get some rest, go over the game plan for LSU, and, you know, see what happens Sunday.
But they still have another game to play for the national championship. It's almost hard to believe. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, guys. And you can watch Iowa fight for their shot at the title right here on KCRG at 2:30 on Sunday. We'll be right back.
What's going on there, JoJo? You all right, pal?
Nope, I'm good.
You catch a case of the hot corgis?
It's fleas, all right. I got fleas.
Are you taking anything? Flea bath? Dance therapy?
It's fine.
Pet meds, JoJo. Trust me.
Pet meds always hooks me up.
Me too.
Here's what's going to happen. Your human will go to petmeds.com, enter your vet's info, then Pet Meds will ship the goods straight to your people door. And you can stop with the scratching.
Please make it stop.
Pet Meds, your trusted pet health expert. Visit us at petmeds.com and get 40% off with code TAILS.
From your trusted local news source with your first alert forecast, KCRG-TV 9 Weekend Morning News starts now.
The Iowa Supreme Court has denied the appeal of a man convicted of murdering a teen back in 1979. The second final deadline for the Iowa legislature has passed. A look at which bills survived. And former President Donald Trump will make his first court appearance next week. Good Saturday morning. It is 6:30 on April 1st. We've got a live look at our Manchester City Cam. Things looking pretty calm over there in Manchester, but again, not very calm just about 12 hours ago. This is video captured from our Ring camera just west of Interstate 380 near Iowa City. Now, this is just one of many tornadoes that the storms produced last night. Lots of severe weather happening, but thankfully, at least for now this weekend, we're going to stay a little calmer.
This weekend will be a little bit calmer, you're right. Let's first take a look at this video. This is a video from Richard Kerr of that tornado near Wellman. You can see that we did have some pretty powerful storms that moved through yesterday, but like you mentioned, this morning we're just dealing with Iowa's other favorite type of weather, which is, of course, snow. We've got some light snow showers moving across eastern Iowa this morning, but really we're just talking, you might see 1 or 2 snowflakes, and this is really the worst of it that we're going to get today. Temperatures are in the 30s to start out today, 33 in Fayette, 34 in Cedar Rapids, and 32 degrees in Dubuque. Today, much calmer. We're going to have highs in the 40s with a partly cloudy sky, a little bit cooler. It'll also be pretty windy today, winds coming out of the northwest.
You know, it is just crazy how many, I guess, seasons it can feel like within a 12-hour span.
especially in spring in Iowa. And that's actually part of the reason why the storms were so strong yesterday, that temperature difference. We've got a warm air mass on one side of the storm, a cold air mass on the other side of the storm. And that change in temperature helps fuel some of those storms.
Always a good reminder to always be weather aware, have those weather radios, First Alert Storm Team app, just to be safe.
Yes, and that's a good point, because we've got another round of storms possible later in the week.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Well, the Iowa Supreme Court has denied the appeal of the man convicted of killing Michelle Martinko. She was found dead in her car in a mall parking lot with multiple stab wounds in 1979. Jerry Burns is serving life in prison for stabbing and killing 18-year-old Martinko in 1979. She was last seen at Westdale Mall in Cedar Rapids while she was shopping for a coat before investigators found her body. The case went unsolved for nearly 40 years. But investigators were able to connect Burns to the case through DNA evidence in 2018. They got that evidence from a straw that Burns used at Pizza Ranch. Burns argued that police violated his constitutional rights when they took that straw. The justices voted 5-2, with the majority saying police followed the law. And we want to remind you that when you see or know of news happening, give us a call on Newsline 9. That number is 319-365-9999. You can also send us news tips, pictures, and videos to newsroom@kcrg.com. We've now passed the second funnel deadline for the Iowa legislature, and several controversial bills are advancing to make it through. A bill needs to pass in either the Senate or the House and a committee in the opposite chamber. Among those safe bills, the governor's parental rights bill. This bill would ban any explicit visual or written depictions in any materials. It would also ban teaching about gender identity in grades K through 6. Another would give harsher punishments for anyone dealing or selling fentanyl. Another bill that survived, the texting and driving bill. This would require drivers to use phones in voice-activated or hands-free modes while driving. Also still eligible is a bill that would relax Iowa's child labor laws, expanding which jobs younger teens can work and allowing them to work longer and later hours. We now know former President Donald Trump will make his first court appearance in connection to a hush money investigation next week. This comes after a New York grand jury voted to indict former President Donald Trump on Thursday. This makes Trump the first ex-president in the U.S. history to face criminal charges. The Manhattan DA's office launched an investigation after investigators say Trump paid to keep adult film actress Stormy Daniels quiet about their alleged relationship.
This is unprecedented in this country's history. I don't know what to expect other than an arraignment.
Trump's attorney says Trump and his whole legal team were caught off guard by the announcement. That's despite Trump falsely predicting his own arrest in the case last week. He says Trump plans to plead not guilty and will aggressively fight the charges. The indictment is under seal, but sources tell ABC News that he faces about 24 counts, including felonies.
This indictment comes after a nearly 5-year investigation. Here's what you need to know. Number one, hush money payments are not necessarily illegal, but the grand jury is looking into whether or not Trump falsified business records about where that money came from and who received it. Falsifying business records is a misdemeanor crime in New York, and in this case could also be a violation of campaign finance laws. Number two, these charges and even a possible conviction doesn't mean that Trump can't run again in 2024. According to executive branch rules, there are only 3 requirements to run for president. You need to be a natural-born citizen, meaning born in the U.S. or on U.S. soil. You need to be at least 35 years old, and you need to have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. Number 3, what happens next? Now that the indictment has been issued, it's up to Trump to turn himself in. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg said in a statement that they have reached out to Trump's lawyers to coordinate his surrender. According to multiple reports, that will likely happen on Tuesday. I'm Molly Martinez reporting.
And former Vice President Mike Pence is putting a new emphasis on his years in politics before he serves as Donald Trump's vice president. It comes as he approaches a likely 2024 run for president. Pence served 12 years in Congress and 4 years as Indiana governor. Pence also reacted to Trump's indictment, calling it political prosecution. And this morning, from toast to popcorn, the Dash Butter Sprayer promises to make your cold butter easier to spread by melting it down in just minutes and making it sprayable. Rachel Hackbarth puts it to the test in this week's Does It Work?
I'm charging my butter isn't a phrase you probably hear too often, but that's what we're doing on this week's Does It Work with the $69.99 Dash Electric Butter Sprayer. It's supposed to make your cold butter easy to spread by heating it up in this container. Chef Jeremiah Harvey wants to try it out.
Have you ever seen one of these before?
I have, and I've been quite interested to see how they do.
We get this plug-in charging base and the sprayer itself.
It looks pretty sturdy.
The container holds anywhere from 1 to 8 tablespoons of butter.
Is this messy at all, or is it okay?
It's not too bad. It's a little messy. Just be sure to have a cloth around, I guess.
When the LED light starts blinking blue, that means we're getting a charge.
So I guess when it's solid is when it's
good to go, looks like.
It's not an instant heat up, but after a few minutes, it's enough for us to spray this toast.
Nice even distribution. Boom, you're ready for the griddle.
Chef Harvey says even with the mess and the wait time, this would be something he could see himself using in his own kitchen.
So do you think that this Dash Butter Sprayer works?
I do. I think it works rather well.
He even believes that choosing this spray method rather than spreading the butter could save calories in the long run. For Does It Work? I'm Rachel Hackbarth.
Well, Easter is just around the corner, and dyeing hard-boiled eggs is a staple for many families. But if you find yourself with more eggs than you know what to do with, we've got some tips on this week's Fairway Cooking segment. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV 9. It's 6:38.
Your trusted local news source with Emily Schrod and meteorologist Hannah Messier. You're watching KCRG-TV 9 Weekend Morning News.
Imagine how inconvenient your life would be without power. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you will have power when you need it most. After sensing a power outage, Generac generators automatically provide backup power so your life goes on uninterrupted.
Protect your home. Call Complete Electric at 772-388-0533 today, or visit them online at CompleteElectricFL.com.
Well, Easter will be here before you know it, and if you find yourself with one too many hard-boiled eggs, Whitney Hemmer is here with some tips on this week's Fairway Cooking segment.
Hi, I'm Whitney, a registered dietitian with Fairway, and today we are talking all things hard-boiled eggs. With Easter right around the corner, if you have any kind of brunch or you make deviled eggs, hopefully some of the tips I share today will be helpful for you, because usually when it comes to hard-boiled eggs, the issue people run into is they are hard to peel. So I used to always recommend that people used older eggs when they were hard boiling eggs. So they used eggs that had been in the refrigerator for a few weeks. However, since I have perfected my cooking technique, you can really use any eggs as fresh as you like. So to cook my hard-boiled eggs, you need a large pot, one that is large enough to cover your eggs by about 1 inch of water. So you don't want more water than that. You don't want less water than that, about 1 inch over the top of your eggs. Get your eggs and water in there, put your pot on the stove and set a timer for 20 minutes. Sometimes my water boils, sometimes it doesn't. The important thing here is that 20 minutes, and when we're done with the 20 minutes, take your eggs off of the heat and put them in an ice bath. So an ice bath is really just ice and water in a big bowl or a pot to cool your eggs down quickly. So what that does, when you cook your eggs, you kind of expand the air sac and everything inside, and when you cool it down, you shrink it, which pulls it away from the shell. That way you can peel them so much easier. So once you have done that and you have the perfect hard-boiled eggs, you should eat your hard-boiled eggs in about a week. So if you are a fan of meal prepping, maybe snacking on hard-boiled eggs, you do have about a week. A lot of times I like to wait to peel mine until I'm going to eat them. I find that they can get a little tough if I peel them too early. If you do find that your eggs get a greenish gray ring around the yolk, just know that it's harmless. It's a chemical reaction typically caused by overcooking, but you can still eat them. If you would like more recipes or information, you can head to fairway.com.
Still ahead, if you're worried about your money after the 2 recent bank collapses, we'll help you calm your fears and help make ends meet. Just ahead.
It's a gray and misty morning after what was an active Friday night. We've got raindrops on the lens in Washington and gray skies in the Amana colonies. I'll let you know what we're expecting this afternoon coming up. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV 9.
Now, your first alert forecast with meteorologist Hannah Messier.
Hannah joins us now with our weather-wise question.
So last night was a very active night. We had several tornadoes across the area, but today's weather-wise question is about how we determine how strong those tornadoes are. So let's take a look. The National Weather Service determines a tornado's strength based on storm damage. Is this A, true, or B, false? I'll let Emily think about that a little bit. And we are going to look at your first alert. We actually have snow highlighted on your first alert this morning. That just shows what a difference a couple of hours makes in the forecast. We've got some snow possible this morning. Really isolated snow showers are what we're expecting. You could see a couple of flakes, and wind highlighted on your first alert. That's actually going to be a bigger story today. We could have gusts up to in the 40s and up to 50 possible for this morning. On our Vinton City cam, it is a misty gray one. We've got raindrops on the lens, and it is significantly cooler now compared to this time 24 hours ago. It is 24 degrees colder in Cedar Rapids, 21 degrees colder in Iowa City, and 20 degrees colder in Vinton. The snow showers that we are seeing this morning have now pretty much made it to the Mississippi River, so we should be good in terms of snow showers for the morning. And about a trace to 1 inch is really what we expected with this system, not really seeing much in terms of impacts. So this afternoon, the clouds are actually going to clear out a bit, and we'll have winds coming out of the north. So clear skies this afternoon with a couple of clouds here and there. In the evening, still fairly quiet. Today, highs will be cooler than they were yesterday. 43 in Fayette, 45 in Dubuque, and 48 degrees in Iowa City for your high temperatures. The real story, though, is going to be today's winds. We could see gusts this morning in the 40s, gradually seeing the gusts calm down as we head through the afternoon and into the evening. Tonight, temperatures dropping into the 20s, 29 tonight in Cedar Rapids, 28 in Fayette, and 29 degrees in Dubuque. But we have another chance for storms that we are keeping a close eye on as we get into the beginning of the upcoming work week. Monday night, a low pressure system moving across the Midwest. So for Tuesday, we start to see a warm front move into Iowa in the morning. A low pressure system bringing in more chances for showers and storms into Tuesday. And some storms could become strong to severe. This, the SPC outlook. We could see some strong to severe storms across eastern Iowa. There's still several days out, though, so we'll, of course, have updates to the forecast. In your long-term temperature outlook between April 8th and April 14th, we've got colder than normal conditions expected across southern Iowa and northern Missouri, so our cool spring looks like it's going to continue. But that being said, it's still going to be gradually getting better today. Also, the first day of April, 47 degrees, 60s Sunday and into Monday, with showers possible on Monday, but the strong to severe storms that we're looking at are really expected for Tuesday. Again, we'll keep a close look at that. Highs will be in the 50s. Now let's take a look back at our weather-wise question. Emily, what do you think the answer is?
I'm going to go with false.
It is actually true. We do determine tornado strength based on storm damage. So what happens? So National Weather Service goes out and they send storm survey teams, and they look at the damage, and based on that damage they determine if it was caused by a tornado and then how strong the winds with that tornado was likely to be, and then they rate that tornado on the EF scale.
Definitely learning something new every day with WeatherWise. Thanks, Hannah. Well, the world of banking can be confusing and complicated, so when something goes wrong, panic can spread like wildfire. Don G is here to help make ends meet and calm those fears.
Most people don't understand how banks work.
Most understand basic checking and savings and the concept of doing our best to keep what goes in balanced with what we take out. But when the news of a bank failing spreads across the country or the world, panic can easily spread even if it wasn't your bank.
In the last 10 years, 73 banks have failed.
Bank failures aren't that uncommon. A few typically happen each year.
A lot of times it's done under the radar because you'll see that you were banking at First Trust and now it's called First Republic. That First Trust could have been on the brink, but the Fed came in. The Fed looked at those books and said, you're insolvent. We're going to facilitate another bank to come in and take over. And then now the bank's called something else.
Financial planner and investment advisor Marcus Warren of Warren Wealth Management and Tax Planning says, if you're wondering if the Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes caused the latest bank failures, his answer?
They did not. People are trying to find someone to blame, and of course the Fed, they do blame them for raising interest rates so high.
Interest rates doomed Silicon Valley Bank after it took a lot of the billions it made on loans and investments and then put it into what is usually a pretty safe bet, U.S. government bonds.
And U.S. Treasury bonds and interest rates have an inverse relationship. So as interest rates go up, the value of those bonds goes down.
The rates climbed and Silicon Valley Bank's bonds tumbled.
A tweet went out with one of the venture capitalist firms that said, hey, there's some issues going on at the bank. We're on our way to pull our deposits. You should do the same. There's not a financial institution or a bank right now that if everybody came to get their deposits all at the same time, wouldn't be in danger of failing because they don't have the money there sitting in the vaults ready to go. They have it all tied up in investments and loans.
But that doesn't mean your money isn't safe even if the bank fails.
All U.S. banks have what's called FDIC insurance, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. They insure all deposits up to $250,000 per depositor.
Your credit union is insured by National Credit Union Administration, making them just as safe as a bank.
No, you don't have to, grab a shovel and bury a hole in the backyard and take your money out, or, shove it in the mattress. You can keep it at the bank.
Remember, the FDIC insures depositors up to $250,000. Even if you are a company or you have more in the bank than $250,000, the government does its best to facilitate the sale of that bank so that everyone is made whole. The loans and investments made by the bank with our money is what makes the community go round. It's a delicate dance, but most of the time it works, helping you make ends meet. I'm Dawn G.
Back now to today's top stories. Severe weather ripped across eastern Iowa last night. In Solon, 2 businesses, a hardware store and a Mexican restaurant lost their roofs. Many homes and other businesses were damaged as well. And the Iowa women's basketball team will play for a national championship following their 77-73 victory over South Carolina. The Hawks snapped the Gamecocks' 42-game win streak. You can watch Iowa fight for the championship right here on KCRG tomorrow at 2:30. And we've got a final check of the forecast with Hannah.
Today, much calmer across eastern Iowa. Let's take a peek at our 9 to 9 planner. Some light flurries moving through this morning, but really just staying pretty light. Highs this afternoon reaching the mid to upper 40s with plenty of sunshine. And in our 9-day forecast, while this weekend looking calmer, more chances for showers and storms are in the forecast as we head into next week.
Another good reminder just to stay weather aware.
Yes.
Thanks, Hannah. Thanks for spending your morning with us. We'll be back at 8.